everybody. What's going on? It's Wednesday, and we're on episode 500. Isn't that crazy?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I guess the numbering doesn't really matter because, like I said, we do so many other like movie reviews and sidetracks and stuff like that. But out of the numbered episodes, this is number 500, I think, unless I forgot some numbers in there somewhere in the past, which I'm sure I probably did. But yeah. So a couple of people had asked us to do this one, and actually I kind of wanted to do this topic for a while. We actually did get to rewatch. I had seen Dog Day Afternoon before, but I saw it like a long time ago. So we actually rewatched it again last night. It's free on Tubi. And there is also a documentary about this guy, about the real guy, called The Dog. That's also on Tubi. I think it's free on YouTube also. And that came out in 2013. Even though, spoiler alert, like the guy actually died in 2006, but they had like a really lot of interviews and stuff like that with him and with all the other players, like his mom and his ex-wife and all this other kind of stuff.
This is kind of an interesting dude in many ways.
He's a character, that's for sure.
And I would say that in general, I like the guy. I like him. He's dumb as fuck, though. I mean,
well, yeah,
dumb as fuck. You know what I mean? Just
well, it wasn't really. I mean, he's crazy for sure. He's a nut. Like even his friends said that. Like they're like, he's pretty crazy.
I mean,
but kind of a fun. He's not a kind of a fun crazy though.
Had some military background in common with him. He's kind of a fucking a New York, Brooklyn kind of Italian.
Yeah, this is like the most Brooklyn story that ever Brooklyn. I swear to God.
He's a little short, macho motherfucker. You know what I mean? I have a lot in common with him in certain attitude ways, but man, this is not how you rob a bank. And you
obviously,
yeah. And why? Why do you want to rob a bank for this motive? Just certain things about it. I respect him. You know what I mean? He knows what he likes. You know. He's a fucking satyr, all right? And he likes sex. And he's going to get it the easiest way he can. And so he's fallen into the gay scene to get it. Just the shit that starts getting into like trans women and stuff. And it's just like something out of a movie. He's going to rob a bank so his trans girlfriend can get a fucking operation. And this is in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
When in New York, like this is early 70s.
Yeah.
And like when actually like being gay was actually still criminalized.
Yeah.
Like you weren't even really supposed to.
Yeah.
Like on the documentary, like they had a couple people that were there that like knew them and stuff. And we're like, you have to imagine, it's like if you were a dude, you couldn't like wear women's clothing down the street.
Yeah.
They could like literally arrest you.
Yeah.
Or you would get your ass kicked just by random ass people.
And his trans girlfriend was like, no, he wasn't gay. He's like, because he's maybe bisexual, but leaning towards liking women. And it's just the fucking, because he had a wife before and 2 kids, and he explains how he got into this shit when he was in the army. He's getting the summer breeze. Dude was blowing him like a summer breeze. And it's just fucking funny, man. He tells these fucking stories, you know, you're just like, whoa.
This is a crazy fucking story.
Dude?
Well, like, okay, so if you've seen the movie Dog Day Afternoon, which is, I feel like that's one of the quintessential, like, best movies of the 1970s. Sidney Lumet directed it. It's a great movie. It's a great fucking movie. If you haven't seen it in a while, please rewatch it.
And I had no idea what was going to happen because I didn't know anything about it.
Because he didn't know the real story.
Just as it started on foot, I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. This is what we're doing here?
I forgot how fucking funny it was.
Yeah. I instantly knew these dudes didn't know how to rob a bank.
Well, the bank manager also knew that. Like, they said within 5 minutes of them coming in there, they said, oh, these guys are total amateurs.
They have no idea what they're doing.
Which they were. They had never robbed a bank before. Or even done anything like that, really.
Yeah.
They just decided they were going to...
They're basically doing an armed takeover robbery. Which you don't have to do that.
Well, no.
They'll give you the money.
Yeah, what do they care? It's not their money.
It's so much better. So much better for you as an offender to do what's called a note job. You just go in there with a note. Fucking, I have a gun, hand it over, everything will be all right type of deal. They're basically required by their insurance and everything to just hand the money over to you. And you just hit a couple of tellers like that and get the fuck out of there as quickly as possible. And then go get another bank in another location. You can get a large amount of money if you're regularly working. This has been proven by dudes that were just serial bank robbers that are doing it this way. A note job. And if you get caught, it's not armed robbery. It is bank robbery. You'll do
you'll still
time.
go to jail, obviously.
You're going to go to prison, but you'll get much less time if it's just note jobs.
If you didn't, yeah.
All right.
And the thing
it's
about
more like con artistry and robbery.
Yeah, the thing about these dudes, like I said, they weren't master criminals by any stretch of the imagination, and I think they were just kind of doing because that's what they'd seen in the movies that way.
Yeah, they saw movies on how.
And you know what I mean, and thought it would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they didn't intend to hurt anybody. And spoiler alert, they didn't hurt anybody. The only person that died in this
one of the robbers,
was one of the robbers, not the main guy. Which was probably unnecessary. The cops killed him. But so you don't feel too bad about there being funny shit about this because it was just such a clown show. Totally
unnecessary. They kept the people fucking in a hostage situation for hours and hours. They couldn't go back home and fucking AC wasn't on. It just taking up all these people's time when they could have been in and out of there in minutes.
And that's what they were planning to do, but it didn't work out that way.
They overthought it.
I don't really know if people nowadays realize. I mean, I was this bank robbery took place about a month before I was actually born, so that's how long ago it was. But I knew about it from seeing the movie when I was a teenager and stuff like that. Now the movie, they did change the guy's name. The real guy is named John Wojtowicz. And they changed, Al Pacino plays him in the movie, but they played his name to Sonny Wortzik. And because I've heard he wanted more money or something like that. I don't know. So they changed a couple of people's names. They changed his trans girlfriend's name, who I forgot, Chris Sarandon plays that role. And I forgot that he was in it. And I think it was his first film role. He had done theater roles prior to that, and he's great. He got an Academy Award nomination for that role. Actually, this movie ended up getting 6 Academy Award nominations. I think the only one that won was Best Original Screenplay. Now, the movie is fairly accurate to what really happened. It's actually based on, I think it was in Life magazine, but you can read it online. It's digitized. But it's several pages, and I think it's called The Boys in the Bank, and it goes into excruciating detail about everything that happened, because from pretty much a few minutes after they went into the bank, the whole thing was everybody knew about it because the media turned up. And then there was and it went on. It was just this whole siege kind of situation, and there was thousands of people out in the street. There was hundreds of cops. There was all the media people, and it was kind of happening on live TV, So there's lots of footage of it, and it just kind of became this huge media circus in a way that's kind of hard to overstate, especially for the time. And once. I think at first, at least from what I could glean about all the documentaries that I saw about it, was that at first, when they knew he was just robbing the bank and he's in there with the hostages, I think everybody, because all these people from the neighborhood, just came to watch because they're ooh, bank robbery, you know what I mean? And it was just this kind of carnival-esque atmosphere. And I think and he was coming out, telling the cops, hey, fuck off, and all this other kind of stuff. And I think they thought it was kind of cool, he was an anti-hero. Now, later on, when they found out that he was gay and that was and what the motivation for the robbery reportedly was, then a lot of the crowd kind of turned on him because, like I said, it's sort of it's the early 70s, and a lot of people didn't really play that shit. But I think that
even the gay crowd, though, turned on him eventually.
Well,
because they didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, even from the time, because they had... if you haven't seen the documentary, The Dog...
The dude's a criminal.
Yeah.
He's a bank robber. It made him look bad.
Yeah, a lot of people that knew him, because he was actually a gay activist in early 70s Brooklyn. And so a lot of people knew him in that capacity. And when he was doing this, and it was this huge media thing... a lot of the people, a couple people kind of stuck up for him, was hey, this is what we wanted. We wanted everybody to be out and proud, and so it would be normalized, you know what I mean? But a lot of people are like, man, we don't want to be associated with that. He's making us all look like crazy. He's making us look like a freak show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't really like that. It's like we're trying to be normal. We're not trying to look like we're all criminals and bank robbers and shit like that. Which I can kind of see both sides. But it's just... it is a crazy story. And like I said, the movie, if you haven't seen it, is fucking great. Zach was saying that it was the same editor as Bonnie and Clyde. So it has that same, it has like almost, I want to say kind of like a documentary feel to it. The thing that I like the most about it is how organic the dialogue is. And I think a lot of it I was watching kind of a YouTube show, like kind of going behind the scenes of the movie. And they were saying that Sidney Lumet he wanted it to be very organic and real. And so a lot of this stuff was improvised, a lot of the characters like yelling over each other and shit, just like they would be in real life. And, there were some flubs that they left in there because it was more realistic. Like the part where Al Pacino like takes the gun out of the box and it's like sticks. That wasn't supposed to happen. But when it did, they're like, oh, well, I guess that just kind of highlights how amateur she is. And that's probably what would really happen. So they left it in. So it was the same kind of thing, like when they were all yelling over each other and stuff. They kept it in there because it made it seem more realistic. And like I said, the movie, even though John Wojtowicz, after the movie came out, he kind of spent the rest of his life like kind of coasting on that infamy, I guess. And he said that Al Pacino was great and that Chris Sarandon was great, but he said the movie was only 30% accurate. I'm not sure if that's the case, though, because what they discovered was that there was another documentary where they had him reenact the crime, and they thought that he had kind of mixed up his own memories with the movie, because he was doing shit from the movie that he didn't say that didn't happen originally.
Probably saw that movie so many times he thought he did some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Or maybe he wished he should have done some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like memory is just constant reconstruction and stuff like that.
And
I mean,
and I liked the movie, but the movie does kind of, I think, it's a good movie, and I think it does actually accurately kind of portray who he is. But it also kind of tones it down a little bit. He's nut. He's wild.
big time.
And
I think in the movie he's like a little bit more sympathetic.
They're making him a little more sympathetic in the movie
than he is in real life.
Yeah.
I think one of the main complaints that he had about the movie, he had two main complaints. He said, I didn't like the way they portrayed his female wife, his ex-wife. It's like they made her look like really pathetic and screeching, and it's like she wasn't like that. And like almost like the movie was trying to blame him, like this thing where it's like, oh, well, she wasn't doing enough for him and that turned him gay or whatever. He's like, that's not what happened. Like, we were broken up for a couple years before.
Yeah, he was already
that.
He was already.
He had been in the scene like for a long time. She knew about it.
Before he was bisexual when he was in the army.
And he also
he just kept it under wraps.
Yeah, it was just later on that he's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go out and do my thing.
Yeah.
He also didn't like that the movie implied that he sold out Sal, his accomplice.
Yeah.
Which the movie slightly, I don't know if it really does that, but there is a scene where the FBI guy says to him, like when they're talking about, because he has a bunch of hostages, right? So they're negotiating, and he's like, I'll take care of Sal. And he kind of acts like, he doesn't go like, okay, but then later he doesn't tell Sal what they were talking about. You know what I mean? So I can see how you might think that the movie was trying to imply that he sold out Sal. Like to get
he was.
But he's like, I would never do that.
He kept
That's
telling
like,
the cops, if we don't do the right thing, then Sal will kill all these people. And so I think the cops were like, oh, we'll take care of him. Like, we can deal with you, we can't deal with him.
Right.
That's not really what the case was. He was just using the threat of, hey, Sal might shoot up. They're both Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
Sal might shoot the place up if you guys come storming in here. And then...
Actually, I don't know.
They kind of made it...
I don't think Sal was because he was young. He was only 18 in real life.
I think Sal was scared.
Yeah, well,
Sal wouldn't have shot anything.
He was young.
They kind of made it look like the dog was... Well, they were saying that the dog was using Sal as a threat to the cops, but the cops didn't know who Sal was.
Yeah, because he didn't come out.
Yeah, he's you can deal with me, you can't deal with him.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of believed... The movie implies that they believed, that the cops believed that Sal was a bigger threat.
Yeah, that he was like
Really
a loose
thought
cannon
Sal was no
kinda.
threat.
No.
Sal wanted to kill himself. He says, "We're caught, man. We agreed we were going to take ourselves out." And he's like,
Yeah,
"No,
if
no,
it didn't
no,
work
no,
out, and he's like,
no,
no, we
no,
can
no." He
still
says,
we
yeah,
can
he's
still
like,
salvage
we should
this.
kill ourselves, you know. Yeah.
But it's kind of there was
Sal was a fugitive from justice too.
Yeah, I
From
wanted
another
to.
state, but I don't know what the charge was.
Well, yeah, I did find
Yeah.
out a little bit about that. It
Yeah.
was nothing major.
Nothing big. Yeah.
And like I said, the actor that plays him, John Casale, in the movie, is quite a bit older than the real character. Like the
Yeah.
real guy was only 18 years old.
Yeah, Sal had done some time. He did not want to go back to prison. He was scared to death of prison. He hated it.
Yeah.
So he was just.
And there was a third guy, but he kind of ran off at the beginning. Like I said, we'll
Yeah,
get into it.
we're gonna get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Zach gave us a super chat. Thank you very
What's up,
much.
Zach?
Congrats to episode 500, by the way,
It's
y'all. Thank you
ridiculous.
very much. My birthday is also tomorrow, too, and
Yeah.
my aunt's was yesterday, so fun coincidences all around. Well, happy early birthday. Very nice of you. Thank you very much for that. CB said, wasn't Dog Day Afternoon John Cazale's last film before he died of cancer? I believe so. Yeah, I think he was in... Well, he was in The Godfather, too, wasn't he? He was in several really good movies in the 70s. And yeah, he died of cancer, like, quite young. Or youngish, you know what I mean? But, yeah, of all the movies I've seen Al Pacino in, I think this is probably my favorite role of his. And I like, too, the way... I mean, surprisingly, I guess, for a movie made in 1975, which was about 3 years after the actual event, Sidney Lumet tried very hard to humanize the characters. He's like, because you have to think this was the early 70s still, and people weren't real familiar with, gay issues or trans people or anything like that. And it's like, and they still thought of them as, outsiders or freakish or whatever. And it's like, and it would have been very easy to have the characters be like caricatures or have people like laugh at them, and we wanted them just to be people. So I noticed that the movie doesn't really harp on, like, doesn't tell you like what his motive for the bank robbery is until well into the story. Like, you don't really find out until much later on. Now, the thing about it, though, is that, like I said, the movie only came out 3 years after the real event. The real event was like worldwide news because it was so crazy. So I assume that most people that were watching the movie like knew what the deal was, like knew what his motivation was. But I thought it was an interesting choice to like not... I mean, because really the movie starts with them sitting in front of the bank, like getting ready to do the shit. Like it doesn't say anything about the shit that led up to it or anything like that. Which, I know why they did that. But to me, that was like a lot of that was really interesting as well. And like I said, the dude himself was just like such an interesting character that like I said, Al Pacino was probably a little more sympathetic than him. But I will say that the dude was very, he's very cocky and he's very self-aggrandizing. But I will say that he was very forthright, you know what I mean? And just very open at a time about that kind of shit when a lot of people weren't. And he was just basically like, hey, this is the way I'm, like, take it or leave it. And I respected that, you know what I mean? And some of the shit he said was like fucked up. He was a nut, for sure. But I think he kind of was aware of that, it seemed. But I will say that he did seem... And they did kind of touch on this in the documentary, that the reason why he just coasted on his fame, essentially, from that movie, like, for the rest of his life, was that he didn't really have anything else. You know what I mean? Like, he just ended up living with his mom, and he couldn't really get a job, and so, because he was an ex-con, and he was kind of infamous, and all this other kind of stuff. So it's like, what else is he gonna do, But... He didn't seem, I don't know. He seemed like a pretty happy guy all around. I don't know if happy is the right word. But, yeah, Grampter said, John Cazale was also in The Deer Hunter. And then he died right after that came out. Okay, 1980. That's right. Oh, man, I haven't seen The Deer Hunter in a long time either. That was also a great fucking movie. Yeah, Grampter says, most bank robbers are not organized, like in Heat. Most are low IQ types with born to lose tattoos. Yeah, I kind of feel like because of movies, you get the idea that like bank robbers are like these really like elite criminals with all this planning and stuff like that. But
Well,
just
some of the serial ones are.
yeah, yeah, but if
There's a
they
difference.
do it as a thing, but like
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, you know how if you see Silence of the Lambs and then suddenly you think all serial killers are like super geniuses that have like, you know, that can draw shit from memory and all this other kind of crap, and whereas most of them are just dim bulbs.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same kind of thing. Like most criminals are just dim bulbs, you know what I mean? Like yeah, you get a few that are smart or like really good at it or something like that, but they tend not to get caught.
They have dudes that have robbed 50 and 60 banks. It's just that they did it with note jobs. They did it in a kind of a non-violent way. It wasn't a big showy score. And they usually only went for like one or maybe two tellers. They didn't go for vaults or they weren't takeover robberies and shit. Takeover robberies, and idiots do that. They tend to get killed. Like the guys out in L.A., the big fucking roid rage monsters on the body armor and shit. They got the huge fucking...
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Those guys, yeah.
You're just asking for it.
They were,
it's
they
like
got
a
away.
suicide mission.
They got away with it a couple times, but they really didn't make that much money, and they got killed. And you know,
Well, yeah, if you go in there packing, I mean, they're just gonna blow you away.
if you go
like,
in
as
there,
soon as they get an opportunity.
in a big takeover robbery, you're a priority. They're gonna fucking X you out, and it's only a matter of time before they get you. And I think they did get into some vaults. They did open some vaults, but it's really just not worth the risk. You're gonna die. But dudes that have done note jobs, they had one guy, he was an old man. He was like in his 60s, and he did it from a bicycle. And he did it for years and years and years. And his family had no idea that that's what he was doing. He had lost his job like 10 years prior.
Like, well, guess I'm
And just
gonna run
pretended
things.
that he
That's
still
my
had
job.
that job. And what he was doing is he was doing note jobs. The FBI had been looking for him for a decade.
Yeah.
And he got 50 or 60 banks. And he was just an
See, that's how, yeah, you just got to be low key.
He was a
about
very unassuming old man who would show up and do a note job and then leave on a bicycle.
it. Yeah.
And they didn't know he came on a bicycle. That's how he was getting away. He was on a bicycle.
Yeah, because nobody suspects
Nobody
a bank
suspects you
robber to
robbing a
ride
bank from a fucking
bike.
bicycle. Okay?
Genius. The dude was a genius.
He was extremely intelligent.
That's
and
how
he-
you do
and he
it.
was
Like,
from a-
don't draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, he had a professional background. If I remember correctly, I think he was an engineer. The fictional shit is like these safe cracking guys, tunneling through walls and all that. That's happened a few times, but that's not a thing. Too many people involved. If it's a team of 7 or 8 guys, somebody's going to get pinched. Somebody's going to get pinched. When the cops squeeze him, he's going to give up the
Yeah,
team.
I mean,
It's too many guys.
The more people involved,
More
like,
people involved,
the more,
the fucking- yeah.
the more leaks are.
Yep.
Potential leaks you got.
Yep.
I will say though
He's going
that
to get drunk and brag about it in a bar with his girlfriend after he gave her a mink coat. It's going to be some shit like that.
one of the best things I ever read about as far as like crime or heists go, because I don't, I don't get mad about heists as long as they didn't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Was the Antwerp diamond heist, and I read a great book about it. I can't remember what the name of it was. I'll have to look it up. It's in my Goodreads somewhere. But these guys, it was a team. They don't know how many guys it was, but they planned it for 2 years. And they had somebody on the inside that was like working there because Antwerp, they have like a huge, like a diamond district, and the whole district has like fucking, pillars that come out of the ground and shit, like, so you can't get in there, like, to crash through shit and everything. So it's like super high tech. And these guys worked on it for 2 years and did all this shit. And as far as I know, they got like several, like $1 billion, like some ridiculous amount of money, like in jewels and stuff. And as far as I know, none of them have been caught, or only one of them has been caught and didn't squeal on anybody. So and that was years and years and years ago. So that's professionals. You know what I mean? They were patient and they planned it. Like I said, they had somebody working on the inside. It's not just like running in there like a bull in a china shop like these guys did. But like I said, these guys were not criminals, really. They were completely inexperienced. And I feel like in this case, John Wojtowicz in particular, I'm not sure why he decided on a bank route. I guess just because he needed a lot of money and that just seemed like the most logical thing to do at the time. But yeah, he didn't really plan it much. I will say in his defense that he had worked as a bank teller for about 8 years. So he did kind of know bank procedures. You know what I mean? He actually worked for Chase Manhattan, which was one of the branches of the bank that he ended up robbing. But so he wasn't a complete dummy. Like, he did know how shit worked. But I will say too that his ex-wife Carmen, she worked at a bank too, because that's how she worked at the same bank as him. That's how they met. So so he wasn't completely oblivious, but like you said, if you're gonna rob a bank, I mean, don't rob a bank. We're not telling you to do that. But I'm just saying that, yeah, it's better to just be like fucking low key about it, because you go in there with like hardware and shit like that. Like, yeah, the cops are just gonna surround the place and someone's gonna get killed for sure.
Yeah, Gramps was going on about facial recognition software. Back in those days, the fucking cameras were too low resolution. But if I remember correctly, that guy wore a mask when he went in. They didn't know what he looked like. I don't remember what kind of mask. I think it was an old man mask, actually.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a fucking... If I remember correctly,
Like
it wasn't like a black...
No,
it wasn't like a black mask. It was like a prosthetic old man mask he put on himself.
Oh, okay. Which kind of looked real from far away.
It looked real from far away, I think, yeah. But it wasn't... It was a... When he got kind of close, it was... If I remember correctly, I think it was an old man mask he wore.
Gramser says, even if someone covers their face, the software can read the distance between pupils and compare with millions in a database. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to... That's another thing. Like I said, I've been watching this true crime show called, I think it's called See No Evil or something like that. And the premise of it is crimes that were solved largely using CCTV footage. And it blows my mind how many people do crimes like in full view of fucking cameras. Man, do they forget that pretty much every business has cameras? A lot of houses have Ring cameras and shit like that now. They can pull that shit from anywhere, like multiple angles, you know. There was one guy and his mom had killed this older couple or older lady, I can't remember, and stole a bunch of their shit, and they had them on video at the car wash in the middle of the night, like unloading all the stolen shit into like a U-Haul, clear as day. And they're like, "Did you not realize you can see the cameras?" I don't know. I don't understand these people. It's like, just if you leave your house, just assume that you're on camera, because you probably are someplace, you know. So, but you know, this happened in the 70s, so obviously it wasn't exactly the same. But thankfully, like I said, yes, one of the robbers was killed eventually, like kind of at the end of the siege or whatever. But thankfully, none of the hostages were harmed at all. You know, it wasn't fun for them, clearly. But a lot of them actually said that that the guys were friendly, and they could tell that they didn't really want to hurt them. And they just said it just kind of sucked because it was kind of hot in there, and you know, they wanted to go home, pretty much. But they didn't really feel super threatened by them, you know? So, you know, so like I said, I can't get like too fucking upset about it. But yeah, if you haven't seen Dog Day Afternoon, please see it. It's really, really fucking good. Like I said, it's one of the best movies of the 70s. And I think it's probably my favorite performance of Al Pacino's. He's fantastic in it. Actually, everybody in it's fantastic. It's a really good cast. I forgot Carol Kane was in it too. Like, she's one of the people that works in the bank. All right, so let's talk about our main bank robber. Like I said, they don't know too much about the other two guys. I did find out a little bit about Sal, but the third guy, like, they don't usually talk about him too much. His name is Bobby, because he left like before the shit really hit the fan, because he chickened out. And so they don't usually like talk too much about him. He was real young too. I think he was only 20. But yeah. So John Wojtowicz, he was actually born in 1945 in Brooklyn. Now, his dad was Polish, which, you know, should be obvious from his last name, right? And his mom, named Terry Basso, was Italian-American. They interviewed his mom extensively on the Dog documentary, and she is also a hoot. You know what I mean? Fair play to her. She didn't really get it, what he was doing back in the day. And she said some kind of sideways shit about it. But she never wavered in her support for him. You know, she was there. He lived with her until he died, you know, and took care of him and stuff. So I will give her that. So she seemed like a nice lady. But man, she was fucking swearing like a motherfucker. She kind of reminded me of my grandma a little bit. You know, like in a good way. So yeah, so like I said, he grew up in Brooklyn, very working class kind of family. Now, according to his mom, she's like, when he was a kid, he was actually a really good kid. She said he was no trouble at all, just completely normal in every way. She said he was really good at baseball. Like, he played baseball, like, all through school, like, into his teenage years, won all kind of trophies and shit like that. After he graduated high school, though, he actually started working at the bank for a while, and that's where he met Carmen, who was his first wife. And they were actually wanted to get married, but her family hated him. And then he got drafted, and he got sent to Vietnam. Now, apparently, I don't know, I'm sure he probably had some proclivities when he was younger, and maybe he just didn't think about it. But apparently going off to Vietnam, like his mom even said him being in the service, like, screwed him all up. Like, he wasn't really the same when he came back. He said that when he was in basic training still, he said he actually had his first gay experience. He said he was sleeping. It's so funny the way he tells this fucking story. He's like, I was sleeping, and he's like, I was dreaming that I was getting a blowjob. And he's like, and right before, you know, the happy ending or whatever, he woke up, and one of the other soldiers, was actually giving him a blowjob. And he's just like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, what? Doesn't it feel good or whatever? He's like, yeah, just keep on going, I guess. So he did. And so I guess they just continued that, like, throughout. He said that the dude's name was Wilbur and that he was, quote unquote, a hillbilly.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
That's what he said. Yeah, you have to kind of watch because the dude is a bullshitter.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Like, he tells a good story. Like, he can spin a good yarn. But you're not entirely sure. I think most of it has a seed of truth, but it's probably, like, exaggerated. I think it's exaggerated.
Yeah. He was already doing that shit before he went into the army.
I feel like he probably was.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, shit like that doesn't come out of nowhere. Like, usually you have feelings like that when you're younger. Like I said, I know back then it wasn't acceptable or anything like that, so maybe he just, like, didn't think about it. And then
this dude didn't give a fuck about what was acceptable and what wasn't acceptable. He was a satyr. He was a fucking male nymphomaniac. Yeah. He would get it wherever he could get it. And he said that. He says I was a pervert.
Yeah, he called himself a pervert.
He called himself a pervert.
Like right out the gate.
He says, I like sex and I like love. He was a nice guy. He just liked sex and he was very much into relationships. And he was very fucking kind of alpha and real fucking aggressive sexually and just had an aggressive personality. And he said he got into the gay scene because he was a pervert and that fucking it was easier. It was easier to get laid there. I mean, he says it. That's all it was. He didn't care where it was coming from. As long as it was sex. Now, he was a romantic guy. He'd fall in love with people. Yeah. You know. But he was a hoe. And he'd tell you that.
I mean, he specifically said you can love more than one person at a time. And it's like, he just wanted, he was pansexual. That's probably a good, in modern parlance, he was would be called that.
And he wanted to be very sexually aggressive. And you cannot go into a straight club and just grab women's titties and make out with 4 or 5 girls.
Not unless you want to keep
you're going to get your asses kicked. Or the cops are going to show up. But he would do that in a gay club. He'd make out one dude, make out another dude, and they'd fucking have sex out of the parking lot, come back in, and do all kinds of shit.
Well, especially back in the 70s. It was like a really, before AIDS and everything like that, it was it was a very sexually charged.
Yeah, so he could get
away with it.
He could get away with it in a gay club. And I kind of like sussed the dude out in terms of, you know, his mannerisms and what was motivating him. He was an attention whore. Has to be the center of
and
fucking
he didn't really deny
attention.
that either.
Yeah. And you can't... When he was young, he was a good-looking kid. When he was a teenager, I would still call him a good-looking guy.
He was still good-looking when he robbed the bank.
He was pretty good-looking at the time they robbed the bank. Now, he ages horribly after that.
Yeah, if you see him in the documentary, he looks... I mean, you know, in the later interviews, he has cancer, so obviously he looks really bad. But
he's a smaller. I can't fuck with him about being fucking small. You know, fucking 5'6". He's probably about 5'5", maybe 5'4". It's hard to tell. You could in the photographs he's significantly shorter than everybody else, and he's skinny. Okay, which you cannot throw your weight around. And fucking grab a whole bunch of fucking women and get away with the weight and shit way he was doing. And get positive attention, but at his size and his build, he could get all kinds of attention at a gay club, and that's what he was doing. So he just went to where the demand was.
Yeah,
he just wanted attention, and that was where he could get it. You know, and he wasn't dressing snappy or anything. You know, very normal kind of dresser.
Yeah, not that I knew of. Like, the pictures that they had of him from that time,
he went
like,
real stylish. From
his activism days and stuff like that, he just kind of looked like... But none of the people in there they just looked like
average.
Regular.
Well, they showed pictures of him in the club.
None of them looked super flamboyant or anything, really.
Yeah, and...
not like the
movies. Trans girls he was going for, the one that he really fucking was wrapped up in, she was passable. She looked female. You could tell she was trans. But that was after she kind of went through the transition, though. Before, you couldn't. Yeah, she wasn't passable.
She just looked ambiguous.
She was just kind of, ambiguous. Well, no, you could tell it was a guy.
Yeah.
But just kind of very feminine, long hair. It was like light drag, light. You couldn't call that. You could say that was. You wouldn't be. Today, you would say that was a trans-oriented person, but you could tell that she wasn't on hormones. Now, eventually she was. When they got married, it looked like she was on hormones.
Yeah, I'm not really sure when, because it was different back then, so it's like, well, I think even now, like, you have to go through this big, long thing, and psychologists and all this other kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then they'll do the hormones, and then they'll do the surgery, like, a long time later.
In those days, though, you could get birth control pills, and they were estrogen-based. So they would just take a whole bunch of birth control pills, fucking black market birth control pills.
Yeah.
And to get estrogen to become feminized. So in the wedding photos, she's passable as female. Now there's some weird shit. I don't know if Jen's gonna get into it, but he didn't want her to do that.
Well, yeah, I am gonna get into that.
Okay,
I got
it's an interesting story.
Like I said, everything about the movie Dog Day Afternoon is great. But it only covers the bank robbery. It doesn't really cover all of the context, like, leading up to the bank robbery. Which, to me, like, makes... As crazy as the bank robbery itself was, it kind of makes it even crazier. You know what I mean? Just the context behind all of it. But like I said, it's kind of a fascinating story. You can see why, a movie got made out of it. Because it was just fucking insane. So when he's in Vietnam and he's having... what he called his first gay experiences, which, like I said, I don't know if that's true. Like, he might have had some prior to that. But evidently I think he was in Da Nang, and there was, like, a huge, like, a rocket attack, like, on this base they were on. And most of his other guys, like, in his unit or whatever, were killed. And that kind of fucked him up a little bit. He said actually he'd been kind of a Goldwater conservative, like, prior to that. But he's like, after he came back from Vietnam, he just became like a peacenik hippie kind of person. Because he's just like, why the fuck are we doing this? Like, why are all these people dying for nothing? And all this other stuff, which, I agree with that. That's basically the whole fucking hippie movement. That was anti-Vietnam. That's what they were saying. It's like, what the fuck is the point of this? All these people are dying for no reason. And when he saw the people die, like, he kind of went that same way. So he said in the documentary, he said it was funny. He's like, I was gonna marry Carmen, like the woman that he'd met at. She worked at the same bank that he worked at. Like I said, he was a teller. I don't know if she was a teller or if she probably. But he was gonna marry her before he went to Vietnam, and her parents said no because they hated him. And then he was like, I think they were hoping that I would get killed over there. But they probably were, honestly. And he's like, but, joke's on them. Like, I survived and I came home, you know what I mean? So he got discharged in 1967 and came back and, started working at the bank again. And then he ended up marrying Carmen it's Bifulco, I think is how you pronounce her last name. They talked to her quite extensively. I think she has also passed away now, but they talked to her quite extensively on the. She seemed like pretty funny, actually. You know what I mean? Like I said, he was kind of mad at how the movie portrayed her. She's not in the movie Dog Day Afternoon much, but she does come across as kind of like a harpy. And he's like, she wasn't really like that. He said when he married her, they had a big fight because his father-in-law was like saying that he wanted him to pay for part of the wedding, and like they had this huge screeching match about it. It was a fucking big drama like with these New York Italian families. And he's like, he just ended up like throwing the money at him and like stomping out and all this other kind of shit. And they're like, yeah, we probably should have known it was doomed from that point forward, but you know what I mean. So they ended up having 2 kids together. They weren't together that long. I believe they kind of officially broke up in 1969, I think. So they were only really together for a couple of years. So after they separated, he still stayed friends with her. I mean, they had kids together, so he still tried to be in his kid's life, I'm assuming, and shit like that. And he would still like go visit her. But at this point, he had started getting into, the gay scene in Greenwich Village and like, going down to the clubs down there and everything like that. And he said that after Stonewall happened, the Stonewall riots, which are kind of considered like the birth of the modern gay movement, if you want to call it that. It's cops raided this gay club and there was like huge riot. It was a big deal. So he's like, after that, he kind of got politicized. I don't want to say radicalized necessarily, but he decided to join one of the activist groups that were active in the area at the time, which was the Gay Activist Alliance, GAA. And while he was there, he didn't change his name necessarily, but he went by the name Little John Basso. Now, Basso was his mother's maiden name. And he joked that everyone called him Little John, he said, because his dick was small. I don't know if that's true or not, but
sure it is.
That's what he said.
I'm sure it is.
I was like, well, at least he's willing to admit it. That was what was kind of fun. So funny about him is that you can tell he's a bullshitter and that he's like self-aggrandizing and storytelling. But then he's kind of also on the other side of that.
Though, too.
Yeah, he's also kind of self-effacing and like almost like a straight shooter. Like he'll admit stuff that other people probably wouldn't admit about themselves.
As part of the, I do like the guy. I like him. He's dumb though, man. Fucking, and he makes some stupid fucking decisions. But he'll kind of admit that too, I guess, in a way. Lets his fucking emotions get away with it.
Yeah.
But
he does seem to have some self-awareness about that.
Here's the thing about this guy. Really, the only notable thing that this dude did was this bank robbery.
Yeah.
And then later on, he fucking based his whole personality on the fact that they made a movie about him.
Yeah. Which
that's not quite cool though.
I know, but a lot of people don't have movies made about him. It's like, I can see why you'd get excited about it.
But,
and then you're gonna ride that gravy train as
far as you can ride it. And it's kind of sad, you know what I mean? Because it cost him a lot.
Yeah.
Doing this shit, fucking, he couldn't back up. He had to just keep going. He shouldn't have done this robbery. Dummy.
Yeah.
And he got another dude killed.
He did.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's kind of the...
Yeah.
As funny as the whole situation and as crazy as the whole situation was, it was a bummer that he got his partner killed.
Yeah.
Which, even though it wasn't directly his fault, I mean, he's the one that recruited the guy into the shit.
Technically, if somebody gets killed in the commission of a crime that you're committing, you can be charged, and usually are charged.
It depends on the state, but you can be charged for murder.
Right.
If they died as a result of something you did that they wouldn't have been doing.
Now, I don't know if they can charge one of your own accomplices with, charge you for murder of one of your accomplices being killed by the police. But it stands to reason that maybe it could be. Hey, this never would have happened if you didn't fucking... That dude wouldn't have been killed if you didn't recruit him for this job.
Yeah.
So you
well, that's true.
I don't know whether or not they'd actually get it by. I don't know how the grand jury. It's going to be state by state.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you can say, yeah, that makes sense, but you also don't want to get into like a slippery slope where it's like, well, they're also a grown ass adult. They could have said no, you know. It's like it'd be different if it was a kid and you made them to do something and then they got killed.
If a shootout happens and an innocent bystander gets killed, you're going to get charged for that murder, even if the cops fired him. Okay,
that's true.
You can say, well, that was a grown ass adult. That person went to the bank. But then they would
well,
say,
no,
well,
I'm saying grown ass adult in the sense of
he joined
that. Yeah, he joined the robbery team, which is illegal. He knew it was illegal. He was a grown up, so it's like so he didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying?
So maybe they don't do that.
Yeah, I think it varies. I think like state by state, but it depends on the circumstances. You know, it's different if like a innocent bystander gets shot because you know they were just going about their regular ass life. They didn't have a choice in the matter. Like this guy did. And
maybe if you recruited the guy and he didn't quite know it was a robbery, maybe they could get you.
No, he did. Yeah. If he didn't know, if he got recruited into under false pretenses, then you could probably get him for that. But he knew he knew what they were doing. Yeah. He knew what they were doing. So he couldn't say later, it's like, I don't know, man, he forced me to, or anything like that. Like he didn't ever try to say anything like that. So like I said, so he starts getting very active in, the GAA and like going to clubs and, fucking dudes as one does. Like you said, he was really into, and he admitted this like very, very early on in the documentary. He's like, look, I don't really have any other vices. Or he's like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't gamble, I don't anything like that. He's like, I just like to fuck. And he'll just like basically fuck anything that moves, just like Frank Booth. And so that's what he wanted to do. And like I said, the gay scene in the 70s, a lot of other people wanted to do that too. So he was happy as a pig in shit. You know what I mean? So a couple of years after him and his wife broke up, in 1971, he was in Little Italy in New York at the Feast of San Gennaro, and he spotted who was then known as Ernest Aron. Now this was a young transgender woman. She would later take on the name Elizabeth Eden. Usually they called her Liz. Although the weird thing about it is that as much as John loved her, and I think he did, I mean, stupidly so, he only ever called her Ernie. Like, he wouldn't call her by her preferred name, which I thought was kind of funny. It didn't seem to bother her that much. Although I will say it does seem that they had kind of a tumultuous relationship. Okay, a little bit.
He called her a man. He said he loved her as a man and referred to him as him.
Yeah.
He didn't go into the trans things, even though he said he was looking for a guy with big boobs, a pretty dude with big boobs and a little dick.
Yeah, that was what he was into at the time.
That was
yeah. Now he
looking
said
for a trans dude
that the first time that he saw Liz, that it was like love at first sight, and he's just like, I gotta have that kind of thing. And so they ended up getting into a relationship. Now, a few months later, and this is kind of crazy, because you have to think this is like 1971, right? Like late 1971. Gay marriage, gay rights were still very, like I said, it was still largely criminalized in pretty much all of the United States, if I remember correctly. And gay marriage was not even on the fucking agenda. They weren't even really thinking about it. They just wanted to walk down the street without getting their ass beat. You know what I mean? That's basically it. And he decided, which was pretty ballsy for 1971, that he was going to marry her in, like, obviously it wasn't legally binding, but they were going to have a ceremony and everything. And so she buys a dress. He said it was like $1,000, which, holy crap, like, that's a lot of money in 1971 money. And they had a whole wedding. His mom came, all their friends came, like, all the bridesmaids were in dresses, like, they were all in drag. I thought that she looked really nice in her wedding dress. It's funny because she was, like, way, way taller than him. Like, remember her friend, like, on there saying it's like this little troll, the troll that loved her.
Yeah.
I thought that was so
Yeah,
funny.
by that time, I think he kind of was a troll. He started to become a little bit like a
He
troll.
was still okay looking at this point. Like I said, he didn't age well.
His facial expressions were troll-like, though.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, you could tell he's just this little fucking...
But it was so funny because like Liz was like a foot taller than him.
Yeah.
And you know she had this like really elaborate dress and gown and everything,
Yeah.
veil and everything.
Yeah, he's wearing his army uniform.
And he wore his well. He didn't want it. He said that when she walked in with that big, or when he saw the dress, because he was with her when she picked it out. She saw it in the window, and he's like, I don't want to get upstage because like there's only one star and that's me. Yeah. So he wanted to wear his military uniform with all his medals and shit on it.
Yeah, which he couldn't do technically because he wasn't on active duty.
I know, but he didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
did
he didn't give a shit.
He just wanted to like look better. He's like, that's how it is in the gay scene. It's like everything's very like everybody's trying to one up each other all the time.
He was.
So he was trying to one up her because she had a fancy wedding dress.
He was a Spec 4, looked like infantry stuff that he was wearing, and had a decent set of medals, and it didn't look like stolen valor, like a huge rack.
Like he did serve, and he was in combat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He was in Vietnam, fucking, honorably discharged and everything. He did his time, and it was just kind of funny, and the photos looked good. It did look like a fucking serviceman with a big, tall, skinny blonde.
Yeah.
She's passable in the photos.
Yeah.
It looks like a woman.
It's just funny that she's so much taller than he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't really see it, like, because there's interviews with her on the documentary where she's just sitting and talking, and she doesn't look like she's that tall, but... And I don't know if he's just unusually short, too, but...
He's probably about 5'5", 5'6". She's probably almost 10 inches taller. A foot taller.
I mean...
Heels. I think she's wearing heels, too.
Well, that, too, yeah.
So,
but she was, like, way taller than him, which I thought was funny. But like I said, so her friend...
And he's skinny. He's not an imposing guy.
Yeah. Her friend saying, calling him a troll. I thought that was really funny. You know what I mean? I think that guy knew her. I don't think he knew him that well. But yeah. So they had this big wedding, and it's like they had a real priest, like, officiate it and everything, even though he got defrocked later on. Because, like I said, it wasn't legal. They had it in, like, this... He showed where it was. It's not, it's not the same thing anymore, but it used to be like a bar or a club or something. And they had it there, and they had the reception. Like I said, his mom came, and she seemed, like, pretty cool with it. None of his other family came, because she's like, well, they don't really go for this sort of thing. You know what I mean? They had his mom saying. Because the thing about it was that there was a guy who was also in the Gay Alliance, who was, like, a journalist, and he had a video camera, and he taped a lot of it. So, like I said, there's a lot of footage of this stuff. Interestingly, a few days before they got married... some members of the Gay Activist Alliance decided they were going to do like a non-violent, like a little demonstration at the marriage bureau. And they went in there with a wedding cake, and like they had invitations, like inviting everybody to an engagement party for like, two male couples that were getting married. And they kind of did a little sit-in and like took over the place, like, just trying to bring attention to like gay marriage, I guess. But the fact about it is like, so Tom's like, so this guy that later robbed a bank is probably like the first like gay wedding.
Yeah.
I was like,
seems to be.
I'm sure there might have been some before that weren't. I mean, maybe we just know about this one because the guy was kind of famous. Yeah. But he's like, they're like, it was so funny.
They must have had other weddings, just that they're not famous. This is the first one of any notoriety.
Notoriety that got recorded and stuff like that. Because, like I said, the other activists were there, and then one of the guys had a camera and like taped a lot of it.
Right.
It's shitty quality. It was early 70s, like it's black and white, but you can see a lot of it. And they interviewed his mom and shit like that. And so yeah, he's like, it was funny because Liz said they came out afterward in the street. And there's a police precinct, like, directly across the street from the bar or whatever where they did it. And he's like, the cops at first, like, thought it was a bunch of women, you know what I mean? Because somebody, wedding dress and bridesmaid dresses and stuff. And they were like, oh, congratulations and stuff. And then they realized that it was all dudes. And then they were like, oh. Like, they didn't arrest them or nothing, though. Well, I guess technically they could have. But it's just, like, really... Yeah, so it's like really funny. But so there was this whole kind of thing going on here. Like I said, a lot of the context behind this leading up to the bank robbery is kind of what makes it interesting to me. So Liz had some issues. Like, she had been making her living as a sex worker, as a lot of them did back then. And she wanted gender reassignment surgery, what they called a sex change back then. They don't really use that terminology much anymore. And like I said, she seemed to be having some real struggles with it, like depression. She knew she wouldn't be able to afford it. And really, there weren't a lot of places that would do it in the U.S. From my understanding, it was very common to go to Denmark was a main place where a lot of people would go to have it done. But like I said, it was very, very expensive, and a lot of people couldn't afford it. And she was really struggling with wanting to be a woman, but knowing that she wouldn't be able to afford it. Now, John, because he liked her the way she was, with boobs and a dick, he did not want her to get gender reassignment. Like, he was very against it. And he's like, so we used to have all these fights about it. It's funny because he admits that he's very old school Italian. He said he called himself a chauvinist pig. Who just happens to like men and trans women, I guess. But I think that he liked her because of her manly qualities. Because I don't know if this was the first trans woman he'd been with. It seemed like he was just mostly with guys, you know what I mean? Like, other than his female wife. So I think that he liked the guy side and didn't want her, because he didn't know how he was going to react when she was a woman, because he's like, well, I like dudes. So he didn't know it was going to work out. So he was very against it, and they had a lot of fights about it. And she started getting really depressed. And only a few days before the robbery, on August 19th of 1972, as a matter of fact, she actually attempted to end her own life. Like, she took an overdose. And she actually did die for a short time, but they did revive her. And at that point, they took her to the psychiatric ward at Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn. Now, after this happened, John went to visit her and told the doctor, well, you have to let her out. Like, this isn't cool. And they were like, yeah, she's not getting out. And he's like, well, I'm going to take her out by force. That's what he said. And he said that was when I realized that she was not going to be happy unless she had the surgery, and I was going to pay for the surgery somehow. This is his story. Like, some people have cast doubt on the main motive behind it. Now, I will say that, spoiler alert, the money that he made, he didn't get the money from the robbery, obviously, because he got caught. But the money that he made from the movie being made about him, he did give a lot of it to her, and she did get gender reassignment surgery with that. So he did end up paying for it indirectly. Not from the bank robbery, though. But some people have said that maybe that wasn't the main motive. And actually, even later on, she even seemed to think that wasn't the main motive, which I'll get into a little bit later. But he basically said when he saw her in the psychiatric hospital after her suicide attempt, he realized that it's like, she has to get this done or she's going to die. You know what I mean? It's like he's like, she even said to me, like, if I can't be a woman, I don't want to live. You know what I mean? So he's like, well, I have to do this to save her, essentially. So he decided, for whatever reason, that to get the money quick, he's going to rob a bank. As one does. And like I said, some people have said that maybe there was some shit. Now, I've also heard that he had maybe borrowed some money from the mob, like to pay for the wedding and to pay for other things, and like they were, threatening him like to get the money back, and maybe that was part of the reason, but I don't know. I've heard a couple people say that. But pretty much the narrative now, and even most of the people that knew him said that, yeah, he just wanted to pay for her to get surgery. So he decides he's going to recruit some accomplices for this bank robbery. So the first of these was Sal, who was 18 years old at the time, Salvatore Naturile, and 20-year-old Bobby Westenberg. Now, even though in the movie Dog Day Afternoon, Sal, who was, like I said, older in the movie than he was in real life, very specifically tells Sonny, which is, Al Pacino's character, because like I said, they changed his name, to make sure to tell the news that he's like, say, I'm not gay, you know what I mean? Because he said, on the news, they said 2 homosexuals. And he's like, and I'm not homosexual. In real life, Sal was. They actually, all of them were. They met at, the gay bars. That's how they knew each other.
No, but he didn't give him permission to pull him out of the closet.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if he actually, in the movie, in the context of the movie, I don't know if he was saying he wasn't gay or he just didn't want anybody to know. Well, like I said,
in the movie they left it ambiguous.
They left it ambiguous. They never really said whether he really was gay or he just didn't want anybody to know. Because like I said, the movie just starts at the beginning of the bank robbery. It doesn't have any of the lead up to it.
They were fighting over a fucking trans girl before the robbery. The trans girl, the other trans girl was the one that chickened out.
I think. Well, the other guy was a transvestite. I don't think call him. I wouldn't call him transsexual. Right. He just he was. He was into dudes and he liked to wear women's clothes, but he wasn't a transsexual. He just liked to wear women's clothes. That was okay.
Okay, well, the dog just said he was trans.
No, he didn't say that.
I thought he said he was trans.
No, he didn't.
They wanted him dressed up as a woman. They were fucking him.
He said that what he said was, I saw it twice.
Okay.
He said he wanted to fuck Bobby.
Yeah.
And Bobby, because he's like, well, Bobby would wear dresses and stuff sometimes. Okay. Like I said, that's not transsexual. That's just transvestite. Like I said, it could mean that, but not. He's like, because, a lot of the gay guys back then did drag and stuff like that too. So, he's like, so I wanted to fuck him, and Bobby said no. And then he's like, bro, I promised you $50,000 from this robbery, and I'm not even going to get a fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And so he basically strong-armed him into.
Yeah, and then the other guy got.
And then Sal wanted to fuck him too.
That's right, he couldn't do it.
But Bobby was like, "Come on, no!" And then so he didn't get to fuck Bobby. But apparently
he was mad about it.
But apparently,
he was mad about it.
John did get to fuck Bobby. Yeah. That's what he said anyway. Because he made him. I guess he made him feel bad because he's like, I'm gonna give you all this money and you're not even gonna let me fuck you. You know what I mean? So yeah. So like I said. He's not a great dude, He has some questionable tactics, but he admitted it at least. So yeah, so like I said, both of these guys very, very young. Sal and John had actually met at Danny's, which was a well-known gay bar in Lower Manhattan. Now, he did tell Sal that that they were going to rob a bank. And that he had intel from, a guy he knew that worked for Chase Manhattan. Because, like I said, John had worked for Chase Manhattan Bank for a long... Not the one that he robbed, I don't think. But he worked for another branch. And, evidently, he claimed... I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what he told the other guys. He's like, was the vice president of this other bank, and he told me, when the truck comes to deliver... the money, when there's the most money in the bank, all this other kind of stuff, and this is the one you should hit or whatever. So, like I said, whether that's true or not, I kind of doubt it, honestly, considering how shit went down. But that's what he told Sal anyway. So Sal was 100% aware that they were going to be robbing a bank. I don't think that John made any secret of that. Now, so Sal, in the movie... Sal is called a fugitive, and then it's like he would rather die than go back to prison and stuff. And I was like, well, how accurate is that, and what did he do exactly? So I tried to look up. It's not easy to find information about Sal, but I did eventually dig some shit up. He had reportedly been raped in prison, which is one of the reasons he didn't want to go back. And I hesitate to even say prison because most of the time he had done, remember, he was only 18. So most of the time he had done was in juvenile facilities. He actually had a pretty lengthy history of juvenile delinquency, just minor offenses, starting about the age of 11 or 12. But like I said, nothing terrible, like nothing violent. It was mostly stuff like truancy, burglary, grand larceny, like drug possession, shit like that. You know what I mean? Just like little shit. They said at one point when he was like a teenager, he hid overnight in a department store and stole a bunch of TVs. So it was shit like that. And they said in the few months before the robbery, he actually was facing some new charges for possession of burglary tools and possession of narcotics. And he was using an alias, actually, some of the time. Donald Matterson was what he went by. Also, according to one account I found, he had been working at, like, a candy store around the time that he took part in a robbery, like a penny candy kind of store. Because I found an article by somebody that was managing the candy store and had hired him or whatever, and said he actually was a nice dude, you know what I mean? But yeah, so he was... So I don't know if fugitive is the right word, but he did have a history of juvenile delinquency. But like I said, nothing violent, nothing major, you know what I mean? But it's just he had been in juvie and he was raped in juvie and he did not want to go back there. Now, as you will see in the movie, these three guys were almost comically unprepared for this fucking heist. I love that I like I said, that they started the movie like right at the start of the bank robbery, but they don't tell you all the funny shit that happened before the bank robbery. Because that wasn't the first bank. They were driving around looking for banks. They didn't even have one target in mind. They were just driving around seeing what they could see, you know what I mean? So they actually spent the night in a motel in New Jersey. And then the next day, they just cruised around Brooklyn, like looking for banks they could hold up. Now, at the first bank, they were holding, the two other guys were holding the shotgun, and they dropped it. Now, some accounts say they either dropped it, it clattered onto the ground, or some accounts I saw say they dropped it, it went off. And so, like, everyone in the street was, like, looking, I'm like, what the fuck? And, like, you know? And so John's just like, oh my God, get your dumb asses back in this fucking car right now. Like, we can't hold up this bank, obviously, because you guys...
John said it went off.
Yeah. Like I said, I've heard both. I've heard that it just dropped
it and it went off.
And it just went off.
Yeah.
So
everybody looked around like, what the fuck was that?
Like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
so he's like, okay, you got to get, but we can't do this one. You know what I mean? Because they stopped in front of one to get out of the car and start casing the place, and they dropped it. You know what I mean? So, like I said, not master criminals. And then at the second bank, Bobby went in there to kind of case the place, and his mom's friend was in there. Hey, Bobby, what's up? And he's like, shit, we can't do this one either. You know what I mean? And he's like, okay, well, we need, John was saying, we needed some inspiration. We need to, like, get, like the coach, like, getting the team all. So they went to the movie theater to see The Godfather. To get all pumped for the robbery. This is, like, kind of early morning, right? So they went to, like, an early matinee of The Godfather and sat there and watched that, like, getting all pumped for the fucking robbery. So after they came out of the movie, it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And they finally settled on the Chase Manhattan branch on Avenue P and East 3rd Street in Gravesend, Brooklyn. Now, it was a Tuesday. It was super, super hot that summer. And the bank was just getting ready to close. You know, I think it was only like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I guess like some banks did close like kind of early on some days like that. So because John had worked as a teller in Chase Manhattan Bank, I don't think that particular one, but he had worked at that for that company before. So he kind of knew the protocol and like the layout of the bank. So they came in about 3 in the afternoon, right before it was going to close. And they waited for all the customers to leave. And they had their guns hidden. John said that he had his shotgun in this long box. In the movie, he just has a long, like a box that you put like a dozen roses in. Like a long white box with like a bow around it. John said in real life, it was actually a long box that looked like a Wrigley's spearmint gum package.
Yeah.
He's like it looked like pop art or
This is
something.
a pop art. He said in his mind, if he's walking in with that, nobody's going to ask him any questions.
No one's gonna ask him.
And he was kind of laughing about that, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe. Because it was kind of like camouflaged, psychological camouflage.
Yeah, because it's like if
Because
anybody's
it's so
carrying,
harmless looking.
yeah, if anybody's carrying that around,
Yeah,
they're not
it's
gonna...
like some kind of art object.
Yeah, it sounds dumb, but
Sounds
like maybe
dumb,
if
it
you
might
think
work.
it, no, it actually might work.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true, but he said that's what the gun was in. It was in like a big long, like a
I'm sure it's
Wrigley's
true.
gum
It's what
package.
he said.
Yeah,
He said it was a giant, and I know the ones he's talking
yeah,
about.
I do too. It's
Because
green.
when I was a kid, they
and it
were
says
still
Wrigley's
floating around.
on it. Yeah,
It was white. It was a
Yeah.
big cardboard thing full, and they used them as a display to sell that gum. But people would get a hold of them somehow. Maybe they
Yeah.
sold some.
yeah, maybe.
But I remember, I think I had one. I think they came from the corner store.
Yeah,
I remember him.
but he walked in with that.
He walked in with that with a shotgun in it.
And then Sal went in. He had like a suit on, and he had a briefcase, so he looked all businessman.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Bobby was wearing. And so basically, what they did, like I said, they walked in, they acted casual until the customers left, because like I said, they were closing. So the guard was at the door. Like as soon as each customer would leave, they would lock the door behind them because they didn't want any new people coming in, right? So what they were initially planning to do, like they all had weapons, but they were kind of sort of planning on doing a note job because, well, the first thing, Sal actually went over to the manager's desk and pulled a gun on him and said, "This is a holdup. I'm not alone." And then John goes over and gives a note to one of the tellers that says, "This is an offer you can't refuse," because they'd just seen The Godfather. You know what I mean? And he signed it "The Boys," which is why they called the later article "The Boys in the Bank." So what they were planning to do, they were just hoping that, the tellers would just put all the money in the bag and they would be out of there, like before anybody was the wiser. However, that wasn't the way things worked out. Bobby, the third member of the crew, saw a police car outside. I don't even know if it was there for them yet or not, but he flipped out and decided that he did not want any part of this any longer. So he got the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? In the movie, it's actually pretty funny because I don't know if this is exactly how it went down, but he basically like hands Sonny the gun and he's just like, "I can't do this, man." He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "I can't do this. I can't." They just let him leave. And he just left. So like before anything really like fucking happened. It was kind of funny. Now, because of the scuttlebutt that John had supposedly gotten from this supposed person that worked at Chase Manhattan, and like I said, he had worked at a Chase Manhattan bank, so I guess he would know. But he's like, supposedly the armored truck was supposed to have been there, like dropping off a bunch of cash. So like this branch was supposed to have like a fuck ton of cash in it. I don't remember how much they were expecting, but I think it was like $1 million or $2 million or something like that. However, it turned out that although the armored truck had been there that day, it had actually made a pickup and not a drop-off. So there wasn't nearly as much money in the bank as they thought. Now, in the movie, I think she says, I don't even think they say how much they got, like, all together, but she says there's only $1,100 in the vault, and then he just starts taking shit from the drawers and, like, the traveler's checks and shit like that. Now, in real life, they actually ended up getting, I've heard, between $29,000 and $38,000 in cash and $175,000 in traveler's checks. Like, they didn't get away with it, obviously, but that's how much they took at the beginning. Which is a lot, but it wasn't, like, as much as they were thinking. Now, even though he knew about silent alarms and he knew all that other stuff, and he basically told him, "Look, I'm going to blow your head off if any of you pull the alarm or anything like that." Apparently one of the tellers did hit one of the alarms because the cops showed up almost immediately. Like just in a couple of minutes. And the building was just completely surrounded. So after that, obviously they couldn't leave. So now they're kind of stuck in there. And they're keeping all these people hostage. Now, so they have the manager of the bank, who was a man, and then seven women who worked there. So there were 8 people altogether that were hostages in this bank. Like I said, I'm not sure if it was just because in the movie they kind of implied that the cops had turned off the electricity, like to get them out of there, because the AC was off and everything like that. I don't know if there was actually air conditioning in the building in real life and it was just like really hot in there. I don't really know because it was like really hot that day. But so they were all like stuck in there and like super hot and it was like really uncomfortable. But like I said, the people that lived through it, the hostages, they said, well, the guys were clearly amateurs and they didn't really get the sense, like after a few minutes, they didn't really get the sense that the dudes wanted to hurt them. Like they just wanted to get in and out and shit went sideways and they didn't really know what to do. And they said actually as time went on, like the dudes were actually pretty friendly. You know what I mean? And at some point, because everybody in there was cranky and hot and everything like that, he actually went out to the cops and told them to bring everybody pizza. Like he ordered pizza for everybody and he paid for it with the stolen money. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then there's a funny scene in the movie too because he's like stuffing all this cash like in the fucking delivery boy's pockets and shit like that. And then by this point, because the cops were there, the media had showed up. They said there's easily like 2,000 people like from the neighborhood behind all the barricades and we're just like watching and they were just having the time of their lives, you know what I mean? Like watching this shit unfold. And so they were all hooting and hollering and he started throwing money like out into the crowd too. So I feel like I said, at first, it seemed like they almost kind of saw him as like a folk hero type thing. It's like, woo, he's like fighting back against the man. You know what I mean? Like throwing us money out of the bank and shit like that. Because like one of the journalists on the documentary was like, nobody likes banks. So like if somebody's just gonna do that and like is not hurting anybody and is like friendly about it, yeah, everybody's kind of gonna be on their side. You know what I mean? And then there was the whole thing too, like a very famous scene where he starts yelling Attica and everybody out in the crowd does as well, because that had just happened not that long ago, prison riot. And so people were not really happy with the cops, you know what I mean? So the fact that he was kind of telling the cops to fuck off and everything, I think like a lot of people kind of like that. But yeah, it was a very carnival atmosphere. His mom came down there too when she found out what was going on, because like I said, this was going on live TV. They even interrupted like I think it was Nixon was talking at the Republican convention or something like that. And they even interrupted that to show this live. And he was pretty open with talking to the cops. Like he would come out because Sal was still inside. And so he would tell the cops, hey, if anything happens to me or anything like this, Sal will kill them. So obviously the police didn't want that to happen. I don't think Sal would have done that. I don't know. I wasn't there. But he was using that as leverage so he could come out and negotiate. But like I said, the whole building was surrounded. There was hundreds of cops. They had snipers up on the roofs. They had some in the back and all this other kind of shit. And a reporter from the Daily News actually called the bank too, like doing a story about it because it was an unfolding story when he came in. And like he asked him like, so how's this going? And he said, the dude said, like, how do you think? Like, obviously, it's going very badly. So at this point, it's like he doesn't really know what to do. And he's like, we got to have some way to get out of here. And so he decides that because they have the hostages as leverage, he's going to make some demands. So he says he wants a car to take him to the airport, and then he wants a jet to fly him out of the country. Now, like I said, at first, in the movie, they're kind of like, he doesn't even know where the fuck he wants to go. He's just like, I don't know, Algeria? Like, you know what I mean? They're like, why Algeria? I don't know. And then, like, he asks Sal where he wants to go, and he's like, Wyoming. And he's like, that's not another country, dipshit. Yeah, so it's like a really funny, like I said, it's a funny-ass movie. So he was asking for a jet. Where he first asked for a helicopter, and they said, we can't land a helicopter in here. It's too tight. It's too dense. So he's like, well, bring me a car, take me to Kennedy Airport, and fly me out of the country, like, with the money. And he's like, and I'm going to take some of the hostages with me so you don't pull any funny business. You know what I mean? So, like I said, this siege, you have to remember, it went on for like 14 hours, and a lot of it was televised, like it was going on live. It was a developing story. And they talked to him over the phone, like reporters talked to him over the phone, and all this other kind of shit. So one of his demands, too, was that he wanted Liz brought there from Kings County Hospital. And this is kind of crazy because he said on the phone, on live TV, you know, I want them to deliver my wife here from Kings County Hospital. His name is Ernest Aron. It's a guy. I'm gay. He said. They have the phone call. And one of the guys on the documentary, who was a friend of Liz's, said, yeah, that's like gay liberation right down your throat. Like, that was the first time that anybody had just said anything like that. Just like matter of fact, like on live TV like that. And it was like super shocking. And like I said, I kind of feel like that was the point where maybe at least part of the crowd like started to turn against him. Like once everybody found that out. The cops seemed pretty, I mean, I guess, you know, he held most of the cards because he had hostages, but they seemed like pretty open to at least pretending to do what he wanted, you know? So they asked him to, so he asked them to bring Liz down there. So like, the cops actually did go to the hospital and got Liz out. And there's pictures and video of it, and Liz is like still in the robe, like the hospital gown. And they're walking her down the street, and I think that John was kind of hoping that there was going to be some big reunion or something like that. But she was kind of, I don't know if I'd say horrified, but she didn't know that any of this was going to happen. And the fact that he had like declared that this is why he's robbing the bank was like to get money for her sex change. You know, she didn't ask for that, and I think she didn't know how to feel about it, like, as you wouldn't, I guess.
Do you want to top up on that?
Yeah, it's empty.
Right.
Okay. So at first she didn't really want to see him, or talk to him, really. She kind of said, oh, maybe she was scared of him, or she thought he'd gone crazy, like, what the fuck is he doing? Which, you know, that's a pretty reasonable thing to think, given the circumstances. So yeah, so she did come down there, and they had a like a police presence set up like in a beauty shop or something like that, like either next door or across the street, I can't remember. And they had kind of set up a direct line, and so she was able to talk to him, and she talked to him a few times on the phone. That's a great scene in the movie. In the movie, they only showed them talking on the phone like one time, but in real life, they actually talked like 5 or 6 times, like over, because like I said, this was a long standoff. It was like 14 hours. So she talked to him like several times. But in the movie, that's actually a great scene because he talks to her, and Chris Sarandon is fucking great. He's not in it much, but he's just fantastic in that role. And I think this was his first movie. Like I said, he was a stage actor prior. If you don't know who Chris... I mean, everybody knows who Chris Sarandon is, right? Like, he was Jerry Dandridge in fucking Fright Night. You know what I mean? That's where I know him from, because I'm a horror geek. But I know he's been... Oh, he's in Child's Play, too. But he's been in a million other things. But I had forgotten that he was in this. So, but in the movie, it's kind of like they're breaking up, kind of... Even though, I'm going to say... From what I got out of the interviews with John and with Liz, I kind of feel like they were sort of officially, unofficially broken up anyway. Like, like I said, I don't think they lasted too long after they got married. But they still kept, you know, a friend of hers kept saying it's like it was this just weird, like, relationship where they just kept, like, they couldn't stay away from each other kind of thing, even though it was, I don't know if I'd say toxic, but for sure not healthy. You know, it wasn't really a healthy dynamic going on there. You know what I mean? They both, like, had problems. So they were kind of broken up, and I think maybe, so that might have been part of his motivation. Like, maybe he thought if he does this big grand gesture, like, maybe she would come back to him or realize, or something. I'm not really sure. But they talked for a long time. I don't think she ever wanted to go see him, but she did talk to him over the phone, like while he was in the bank. So after all of this time of negotiating with the cops, like I said, the crowd on his side at the beginning, because he seemed kind of like an anti-hero, because they were kind of like fuck the police type of thing, and they say, oh, it's this little guy fighting the system, and everybody likes that. So I think everybody was into it. But after the whole gay thing happened, then like some of the crowd started like yelling slurs at him and shit like that. So it got a little bit ugly after that. But some people were still on his side, I guess. So what they finally agreed to do, they're like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring like a limousine. They call it a limousine bus in the movie. So it's like kind of like a really, really long SUV, I guess you call it. It's kind of like a car, but like a bus at the same time. And he's like, and we're gonna take you and Sal to Kennedy Airport, and we're gonna take some of the hostages with you too. Like in the movie, I think in the movie he said that for every demand that they acquiesced to, like he would give them one hostage, like he would release one. He's like, I'll only release all of them like when I'm actually on the plane and I've made sure it's okay and I'm not going to get caught. So, but I think in real life, I don't think they took all 8. I think they only took like 2 or 3 of the hostages, like in the car. But they needed some, like I said, for leverage. So, I mean, obviously the cops are not going to let this dude get away, right? I mean, after all the shit that he put them through. So they seem to have a plan where they, would kind of give him what he wanted, and then they would kind of get him when they could get him, kind of thing. So they put everybody in the car, and they drove to the airport. Big police, like they said, it was like 40 police cars, like following this thing, like it was a whole contingent. And they drove to Kennedy Airport. I think the plane, because I think the jet in the movie was just like a regular ass plane, but I think the one in the movie was like a smaller, like a Chase Manhattan, like a Chase Bank private plane. And he was going to have them fly him somewhere. Like I said, I thought he said that he wanted to take the money and take Liz to Denmark so she could get the surgery, because that's where they were going to go and get the surgery. But in the movie, they didn't really specify that. They didn't say anything about Denmark, I don't think. I don't even know. He was just going to go to Algeria for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah. So he's like, okay. And he even did ask, like in the movie where he says, you got food on the plane. And he's like, yeah, we got hamburgers on the plane and all this other kind of shit. Like the FBI agent telling him all that. And all this stuff about Sal being in the back seat and him like pointing the gun. Oh, that's another thing. The dude playing the FBI agent that was driving them to the airport was Lance fucking Henriksen.
That's right. Also known as fucking Bishop from fucking Alien 2.
Yeah, and
I saw it. I recognize this dude. That's Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, and I was like, is it? I was like,
and I said, yeah, and I backed it up.
Because
that's him.
I mean, that is him.
Yeah.
This is like 4 years before Alien.
Yeah, because you see him. How many years was it before Alien? Oh, 4. Yeah, before Alien.
4 years.
Yeah, before Alien, yeah. But before Aliens, it was many years.
Yeah, this was 4 years before Alien. This came out in... Well, no.
Aliens, this was like fucking 8 years before Alien.
Yeah, this movie... Dog Day Afternoon came out in 1975.
Oh, 5, 6, 7,
and Alien...
Yeah, okay.
Alien came out in 1979.
Okay, yeah.
Aliens was until 1986.
86, yeah. Yeah, so how many to Aliens was how many? How many years?
That was 9 years.
9 years, yeah.
No, 11 years, sorry.
Because he looks real young when you first see him.
He's very young, yeah.
He's very young.
Like, I almost didn't recognize him because at first, he's only in, like, the very, very end.
Yeah, he's one of the special agents. He
doesn't have many lines or anything.
He's actually a big role that doesn't have very many lines.
Yeah.
He's very important in the movie. And he does good acting, a lot of facial acting, You can see why he ended up in Aliens later. Because I was in Dog Day Afternoon. I was like, oh, you're the dude. Yeah, you're the dude. You're that guy. So,
yeah, you're the man at the end. The man. Like the guy driving.
Yeah. And it's a good role, though. Very good role. And,
yeah, it's just funny. Like, it's funny how many people that you recognize.
You recognize a lot of people in
this movie because you know it's the early '70s, so a lot of them would get like a lot more famous.
I was like, is that Lance Anderson?
I was like, is it?
And they go, wait, yeah. I said, that's him. And I backed it up and goes,
that's
him. And they go, look, there he is.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So I knew he was going to be important.
Yeah, so he's the one driving. I like the whole thing. I don't know if this happened in real life, but in the movie, like, they first get this guy who's supposedly the driver, who's kind of this jive talking. You know, they're trying to get him to, like, trust the guy. Like, oh, he's not a cop. But he pretty much twigged on immediately that was an undercover cop. Which I guess it was, because he ended up later. Like, he was just like, man, you're so cool. Like, you know, I'm going to remember this forever. I'm going to tell my girlfriend about it and all this other kind of stuff. And then he's like, I don't want him driving. He's a cop. So he's like, say, get the actual cop to do it. So in the movie, they let one of the hostages go. Because like I said, because he got the car. The car was okay. He checked it out. And so he let one of the women go. But all the rest of them pile into this car. And he's all excited because he's like, we did it, Sal. We did it. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, don't count your chickens before they hatch. You know what I mean? Just saying. So they drive to the airport. Like I said, there's like 40 fucking police cars like following them. They take him out to the tarmac, and then they bring the plane around. And basically, like, there's your plane. You know, it's got food on it. You know, it'll take you wherever you want to go. Blah blah blah. You know, we'll get out like all in one group, and then you'll let the rest of the hostages go, and then you can get the fuck out of here with all the money, and everything's fine. Except obviously that was not what the police had planned at all. Like, as soon as everybody got out of the car, and everyone was clear, the cops started shooting. And Sal got killed. Now, according to John, he was unarmed at the time. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, I assume it would be because, you know, you'd think they would have taken his shit away. I don't know. Because in the movie, he's got the gun because, you know, Lance Henriksen keeps telling him, hey, point that gun at the ceiling. It's like, if I hit a bump, I don't want you shooting me. And all this other kind of shit. But I don't know. I think John was just trying to make it seem like, I don't know. I don't want to say like a bigger tragedy because it's like, oh, he wasn't even armed. But I don't know if he was at the time that he was shot. In the movie, Lance just shoots him right in the forehead. Like in the back seat, like pop. He just pops him.
In the movie, it was an elegant shot.
Yeah. In real life, they shot him in the chest, actually. Yeah. But it killed him outright.
Yeah. Bigger target, easier to...
Yeah, and I don't think he was still in the car. I think they had all gotten out of the car at that point.
They just took a shot when he got one.
And they just took a shot as soon as they got one. I think everyone was out of the car by that point. So it's not exactly the same. I guess it's more exciting if they're all in the car. The more they filmed it. It's not that different. I mean, it's essentially the same outcome. But yeah, I think they were all outside of the plane. So Sal was killed outright. And obviously John was arrested. All of the hostages were taken home, and they, all got home unharmed, thankfully. Now, John was later very critical of the FBI, saying they murdered his partner in cold blood, and there was no reason for it. Like I said, he said that he was unarmed, which very well might have been true. I don't know. They might have taken his firearm away at some point. But I don't know.
No. I wouldn't believe much what John said about it.
Yeah, like I said, he does seem to be like a straight shooter in some aspects, but he's also very self-aggrandizing, and I think that...
He didn't like cops, too, so he'd lie about it.
Yeah, and so I think that he also wanted to make himself look more like a victim than he actually was, slightly.
He couldn't put himself in the police's shoes, either. The police have a fucking duty to protect the public. Their duty is not to trust him. He's a fucking bank robber. All right, and they're organized bank robbers, and then they start talking about all this, fucking when it comes out they're part of the fucking gay rights thing. Then they start to kind of look like political terrorists too, so they don't know who it is that they're dealing with. The cops don't, and his mom's there saying, "Oh, he's a nice boy," but everybody's mom says that to the cops. All right, "Oh, he's a nice boy. He's not mean." But the ex-girlfriend or the ex-trans girlfriend's like, "No, he's crazy. He's crazy. I've been trying to get away from that guy."
Even his friend said he was.
And then you got fucking you got John talking about his partner. "Oh, better watch out because he's crazy. He'll kill them all. Listen to me. You can deal with me. Don't deal with him. He'll blow up." So the cops, the best thing they can do is just eliminate the threat. Kill them both. That's the safest thing to do. So they just waited until they took a shot. Evidently, they had John's gun under control, but they killed the other one.
Yeah.
And then he surrendered.
Yeah.
But the cops did what I would have done. You can't let him get onto an airplane full of fucking people. Were you gonna trust him?
Yeah.
You might kill everybody when he gets on the plane. Kill all those fucking witnesses.
Yeah.
And then jump out the back like fucking what's his name with a parachute. You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
Fucking what's his name? Fucking deep. Fucking what was DB?
DB Cooper. Yeah.
DB Cooper. Yeah. You don't know. Fucking safest course of action to protect your job as a cop is to kill the enemy.
Yeah, I don't really blame them in this case.
Fuck no.
Like I said, they were just protecting the hostages. They didn't know. I mean, I don't think that John or Sal would have hurt anyone, but the cops didn't know that.
John or Sal were the offenders.
Yeah.
That's the enemy. Your duty as a policeman is to protect the fucking public and the hostages. So the safest course of action, the best course of action is always just kill the offenders.
Yeah, just
then there's no problem. It's over.
Yeah, like I said, so I don't really blame them for doing that.
Yeah.
They
killed one. They let John live. Well, he was very lucky. Very, very lucky.
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily killed him as well.
Yeah, had the police actually been on their game, they would have killed both of them simultaneously. Pow!
Yeah.
That's what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, so I didn't see, like, the configuration of everybody and stuff. Yeah. But I guess, like, they only had a clean shot at Sal, so they took it.
Yeah, what they wanted was a fucking clean decapitation strike on the enemy force. That's it. Both of them killed simultaneously. Pow! And then it's over. Everybody's safe. But they couldn't do it. They killed one, but then they got control of John.
Yeah.
And because
John surrendered.
And then he surrendered. He wasn't a threat.
As soon as he saw that.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. He surrendered.
I mean,
as soon as they got a hold of him. So he was not a physically imposing dude.
No, he was just low.
And it wasn't in his heart to kill anybody, really. But you can't fucking depend on that.
Yeah, like I said, they didn't know that. And it's like, they didn't know that, and shit very well could have gone sideways. I mean, shit, somebody could have got shot accidentally, if he didn't mean it,
Another thing that can happen is that you can have a guy who is harmless, but he is armed, like these guys. And in the moment of truth, he fights back and kills somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't.
He didn't plan on fighting back, but he does.
Yeah.
Because it's just like animal instinct to defend yourself. And, maybe he tries to fight back to the cops and he kills one of the cops. Not the cop's fault. He's just doing his job. He's not committing a crime. You're committing a crime. You fucking robbed a bank and you're trying to get away. You didn't give up when they surrounded you.
Yeah.
Smart thing that they should have done. As soon as they were surrounded, the fucking very first cop tried to negotiate with him. He says, "Look, you can't get out of here."
They should have
just fucking rolled over right
instead of just doubling down.
Yeah, instead of doubling down.
Because it made everything worse for everybody.
Right. I would have done, okay, what can you give me if I fucking surrender? You know what I mean? Fucking, will you come to my fucking trial and testify that I surrendered peaceably? What are you going to do, for me? Something like that. What am I looking at? Yeah. How much time am I looking at?
Yeah. I mean, it would have worked out a lot better. As soon as shit went sideways, you should have just given up because you're not going to get out of there.
You think maybe you can drop a charge or two? I'll just walk out.
Yeah.
They'd be I'd start negotiating like that.
They'd be a lot more willing to work with you if you were just like, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
I fucked this up, so I guess I'm going to jail. You know what I mean? Oh, Brian's here. It's like, hi, Tom and Jenny.
What's
Brian
up,
here.
man?
How you doing? Yeah, I know you were very excited for us to do this topic. I was too. This, like I said, this is fascinating. It's a crazy fucking story. Granthers has been talking about his trip to the villages, which, talking about all the clubs and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of famous for being old people, but being like kind of freaky. I believe it's the highest incidence of STDs in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. Old people getting their shit in before they die, you know what I mean? Gramster says, I did see a dead alligator on the side of the road by the villages. Yeah, you'll see that on occasion. I've actually seen live alligators running across the highway on a couple of different occasions, which is pretty crazy. I was driving from Daytona to DeLand one time, and I saw a gator just booking it right across 92. And I was like, look at that. Look at him go. He almost got hit by a car. It was like a big, like a 4-lane, like divided highway. And he was booking. He was running, man. And I was like, I didn't want to see him get hit, though, because the car was like, oh, shit. And, like, kind of had to go around him like that, but he didn't get hit. But where I used to go to school in Ormond Beach, somebody did hit an alligator on the side of the road, and it was dead on the side of the road for a little while. Gramser said, and a dead Rottweiler in the road in Lakeland. Its head was in another lane. Yikes. That's horrible. That's horrible.
What's up, Pookie?
And then Gramser said, we were at a Waffle House in Lakeland at 4 a.m. before our flight. That's going to be peak Florida right there. It did not disappoint. Gangsters, their bitches, meth tweakers, old loners, and unfortunate employees. Yeah, it's always fun shit going on at the Waffle House at 4 in the morning in Florida, I tell you. You know. Waffle House is a southern institution. Because they're open all night, and
it's a system.
Crazy shit happens.
Waffle House is a system.
There's almost always a fight.
It's an institution.
I don't think. Well, we used to go.
There's also a lot of love at Waffle House. Though.
Yeah, we used to go to Waffle House occasionally, like after the club. Like when he used to live in Altamont, because it was a Waffle House like right on his way on the way there. And so sometimes we would go, and it was like, yeah, it would be like 3:30 in the morning. Most of the time, it was actually pretty. There were some sketchy people in there, but it was pretty fun usually because everyone was kind of drunk. And
I saw a video of nothing, and I think it was like Nothing But Love at Florida Waffle House, and it's just a huge fucking gaggle of fucking club goers after the club.
Yeah,
you could tell they're in an area that's kind of like on the outskirts of the city, like around here, and it's half white, half black, and they're all in there fucking singing. Some like rap song or something, all of them, and fucking people are going like, and it just, the comments were just gold. They're like, yeah, this is what it's like at my Waffle House, and then people are like, yeah, half the bitches in there are packing.
Yeah, I remember.
But
shit
that's
like
just
that
the way it
Waffle
is.
House.
Yeah.
Everybody like talking. Everybody at the other tables
they're
and shit
singing,
like that.
Yeah.
Get some more coffee and hash
Yeah.
brown.
Yeah.
It's fucking funny, man. Yeah, Brian says, same as Denny's in California. Crazy motherfuckers at 3 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, Denny's can get crazy, though. Waffle House
used to
is
always
not
do,
as crazy.
We always used to do Denny's after shows in the 90s.
Denny's can get very crazy. I've seen some Denny's fights. There's some fights at Waffle House videos I've seen, but mostly it's not what it is. I think it's just because of where they put Waffle Houses, and this Waffle Houses are a fucking determined size. A lot of people don't know that. There's no such thing as a big Waffle House or a little Waffle House. They're all exactly the same size. And if it starts getting too crowded, they don't make it bigger. They build another one next to it, the same size. It's a fucking... Because they have it down to a science. They know how many tables they can turn over out of something that size. So it's a known quantity. And you can tell how bad, this is true, how bad the hurricane's going to be, whether or not the Waffle House is open or closed.
They have it's called the Waffle House Index.
Yeah, Waffle House Index.
And I'm not making that up. That's what they call it.
Waffle House has an entire emergency system better than any special operations. They even have their own generators, which that's part of the deal of why it's so small. Because there's a generator there. It can run without any with the power grid going down. It's okay. They'll just turn a generator on, and they'll still be fucking making breakfast 24/7. And they make a shit ton of money. During storms.
So just know,
because it'll be the only thing open.
If you're in Florida or anywhere if the Waffle House closes when a hurricane's coming,
you're
run. Fucked. You better get the hell out of there.
Run.
You better evacuate.
Yeah.
Because if Waffle House closes, shit's about to get real.
I'm fucking ex-airborne infantry. I was out of a fucking recon platoon. Fucking 101st Airborne Division. I was with fucking 327 recon. I was with the fucking 506 infantry when it was in Korea on the DMZ. With the fucking second ID, and I'll tell you, Waffle House is special operations. That's Special Operations Kitchen Command. They know exactly what to do. They are fucking hardcore. They know everything about storms. They know everything about how big the Waffle House. They know how long it takes for tables to turn over. The wait will always be the same at every Waffle House. It's very fucking systematic. It's very scientific. There's a waiting room outside the Waffle House. If you get inside the waiting room of the Waffle House, you're probably going to have to wait 15 minutes. If there's no waiting room, you can just sit down. You're going to get served almost instantly. But that's like the meter. You can tell. If you're willing to wait 15 minutes, you can get in the little waiting room. If you're not willing to wait 15 minutes, go to the other Waffle House. There might be another one across the street. It's exactly the same size. And that's not me making this up. I fucking saw a program on it. They know exactly what they're doing.
They've got it down to a science.
It's a science. It's a marvel of Southern fucking technology. It's a Southern thing.
And like I said, I'm not making up Waffle House Index.
The Waffle House
is a real
Index.
thing. Because Waffle House is open all the time. Come rain, come shine. 24/7. Doesn't matter if it's Christmas. They don't give a shit. It's always
They'll be
open
in a hurricane.
Yeah, but like I said, if Waffle House closes,
it's bad.
Then that means it's really, really bad.
Yeah, it's
then
really
you probably
bad.
should leave.
Yeah.
Because it never fucking closes.
Nope. And they'll do things. They have these little commando fucking raids and shit where if something wrong happens in an area, they'll send the staff from one Waffle House to the affected Waffle House to replace them. They're like commandos. But they're known for making money during fucking disasters.
Because it's all that's open.
It's it's the only thing to be open would be Waffle House, and it's still fucking serving food.
Yeah, because they make it's diner food. You know, it's mostly
they'll make a
breakfast,
shit ton of money.
You know,
they'll make a shit ton of money
or waffles rather.
Yeah.
They don't do pancakes actually. Mm-hmm. I realized last time we were there.
Yeah, they don't do pancakes, do they?
Yeah, because I was thinking, well, you'd think they would at least do pancakes and waffles. I know they're called Waffle House, but yeah, it's only waffles.
I just like the bowls.
Yeah,
the hash brown bowls.
Yeah,
it's just a bowl of hash browns with whatever kind of meat
with stuff,
with eggs in it, and then
eggs and sausage or whatever.
Sausage gravy.
Yeah, side quest hero is here. I work nights, and Denny's is the best place to pee at 1 or 2 a.m. Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it. Like Denny's, we used to do Denny's after all the shows. It's like it'd be funny. We'd be sitting around the table at Denny's, eating breakfast at 3 or 4 in the morning, and like we'd have been in the pit. Somebody's got their head bleeding or some shit like that. You know, and we're all fucked up. Everyone's makeup is fucked up, and we're all cut up and shit. And then the fucking servers are just like, whatever.
Fucking, that must be Brian in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so there's a Waffle House 1 mile from my hotel here in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, go and film some fights. There's almost always a fight.
Yeah.
Gramther says I left a huge tip because I felt sorry for what the employees had to deal with.
Yeah.
They're used to it, to be honest. But, you know, good on you for leaving a big tip, though. But, yeah, they're used to it. I wouldn't fuck with people that work at Waffle House, to be honest.
Yankees have
They
come
don't.
here.
They don't fuck around.
I know Yankees that come here, they go to fucking Waffle House like it's some kind of gag. Like, oh my God, we're going to Waffle House. They're like, it's the weirdest thing. It's just funny. We grew up with it.
Yeah. I mean, it does have a reputation. And it has a reputation for a reason. It doesn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah, its food is good. It's consistent. It always tastes the same like McDonald's. It's consistent.
Yeah.
And it tastes homemade because it's made right there.
Yeah, you can watch them make it.
Yeah. And it's real food, and it's good. And it's very Southern. The only thing
it's just an open kitchen. You can see everybody making shit like that.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks is everybody pretty much knows Waffle House grits suck.
The grits do suck.
The grits suck. That's not the way grits should taste.
They're very flavorless.
They don't have any flavor. Other than that, everything's good.
Yeah, I mean, you can't... It's like I said, it's hard to mess up eggs and hash browns, honestly.
Yeah, eggs, hash browns,
and waffles. But like I said, the grits
and then
need...
they mix eggs and hash browns and then steak.
The grits need some oomph.
Because they had steak and eggs, if I remember, too.
I think they do,
yeah.
Brian said, you're going to love the movie I'm working on, Tom.
Okay, yeah, we'd have to have you on as a guest, bro.
He's in South Carolina working on it.
If you guys don't know who Brian is, me and Brian Hackett went to Southern California military school together in middle school. And he's now works in Hollywood. He's done a lot of fucking movies and shit. Dragged Across Concrete. He's worked with fucking Kurt Russell. He's worked with fucking Sylvester Stallone. And he's here in the South making movies right now. But he's a Hollywood guy. And we got to have him on, like on a sidetracks.
Yeah,
one of these days. Maybe we'll stream him. We'll have a fucking...
Yeah.
We got to do that. We got to arrange that one of these days.
Or if you're ever in Florida, like working on a movie or something. Yeah, Gramter said we had eggs and bacon and hash browns, and it was a greasy delight. Yeah, I mean, if you love like greasy breakfast diner food, you really can't do any better than that. And it's cheap. You know what I mean? Like relatively. All right, so where was I?
You're in and out of there quick. It's like fast food.
Yeah.
But it's fast food. You sit down at a diner. It's like a 50s diner. You can look and find out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you've been in other countries. Look at Waffle House. There's all kinds of videos about Waffle House. It's a modern marvel of Southern fucking science. Okay, culinary science. Yeah.
All right. So John got arrested, right? Sal got killed. Now, the other accomplice who would run off before the shit even started, Bobby Westenberg, he actually did get caught a little bit later. He only got 2 years because he was in on the very beginning of the thing, even though he didn't participate in it fully. So, John got a plea deal. But his initial sentence was 20 years. That's what the initial sentence was. However, he befriended and eventually got into a relationship with another inmate at the prison named George, who was also a jailhouse lawyer, and eventually like helped him like with appeals and everything like that, and actually helped him get his sentence reduced. So he actually only ended up serving 5 years. So he got released in April of 1978. I think George got out too about the same time. He went back a couple times for like parole violations and shit like that, just little shit. But he was finally free in 87. Like I said, after he and George got out of prison in 1978, they also got married. Like I said, it still wasn't legal then, obviously. They talked to George quite a bit on the documentary. He looked a little bit like Christopher Walken, actually. You know what I mean? Slightly. He kind of reminded me of Christopher Walken for some reason. And he was also much taller than
yeah.
Like
I actually liked him.
Yeah, he seemed like a cool guy.
I liked that guy. Yeah.
He would.
I hung out with him.
I'm not sure what he was in prison for. I think he said
something kind of minor.
I think it was like I think it was similar bank robbery kind of shit.
We went in there long,
and he wasn't in there that long. Yeah,
4
like I said, and
something.
he was a legal guy, so he was helping.
He wrote a bunch of legal writs to try to get his fucking resentencing done because he was
he actually got
they
John
doped him up.
out. Yeah,
they doped him up for his sentencing, and so he kind of that kind of meant that he kind of like didn't get due process.
Yeah, so he got a resentencing.
When they resentenced him, they fucking gave him a different sentence. It was a little bit less time.
Yeah, so he, like I said, he was initially it was 20 years, but he ended up only serving about 5.
Yeah. The rest of it was on. Well, they resentenced him, and then the judge recommended his parole.
Yeah, so he lived in a halfway house for a little while.
For a while, yeah.
And tried to get a job, but he couldn't get a job because he was an ex-con. And him and George were together. I think George said they were together for a couple of years after.
Well, he married her too. He was married to 3 people, a woman and 2 trans girls.
Because I mean, obviously,
in his mind,
the first
he called them all his wives.
Yeah. Well, his marriage to Carmen, I don't know if they ever officially divorced. Carmen said that she actually considered herself married to him until 1978, even though technically they had broken up in like 1969. Because they still had kids together. And the thing about it was that even Liz said before the bank robbery that that John would go and visit his wife, Carmen, and like a couple times a week, and she thought they were still having sex.
Yeah.
So he was still having sex with his wife, but then he had another wife who was a trans woman, and then I don't think George was trans, but he did say that he had done drag and stuff, but I don't know, but yeah, he was just kind of like, okay, whatever. All right, so they were together for a while too.
Brian says he'd be honored to be a guest whenever we want. Okay, look, off the show, contact me and we'll get together. Make sure you contact me sometime during a weekday, and we'll try to get all the information about how we're going to do the stream. Like, what is it? What was the last time we had a guest on? What did we use last time?
Well, I haven't done anything like that.
We haven't done it in a while.
This.
So we'd have to download a new fucking app. I don't know what application you use. What application do you use for like Zoom calling or whatever you call it? Something. We'd have to get that, and we'd have to learn how to integrate it.
Well, I have Zoom. I have all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
just I don't know how to integrate it with this. I have to figure that
So
out.
it's going to take Jen a while to figure out exactly what we have to do. We'll have to set up some test connections first to make sure everything works, and then we'll set a date. We'll set a date that's like a topic. We'll have a topic on one of our Fridays. Maybe we'll talk about movies. Everybody seems to like on sidetracks to talk about movies.
Yeah, movies or music or whatever.
Yeah, we can talk about some of the movies you've done, and then we can just freewheel it.
Yeah. He says, for sure, as soon as I get home to LA first week of April. Okay. We'll start talking about it then. So, the thing about John, though, is that while he was in prison, he didn't have a great time in there, which will probably surprise nobody. Like I said, it's the 70s. He was an openly gay man who was married to a trans woman. And also, I think there was some speculation that the other inmates might have been pissed off because they found out that there was a movie being made about him. Because the movie was made and came out while he was still in jail. So he was, and even George said this. He's like, yeah, he just got fucked with like all the time. John said he was actually gang raped by 3 inmates who like knocked him out with a pipe, and like on at least one occasion. So George, who was he was a big dude, and so he kind of protected him somewhat while they were in prison, so he didn't get fucked with as much after he took up with George. Now, so John, there was an article about the bank robbery. I think it was in Life magazine. Like I said, it was called The Boys in the Bank. And the screenplay for Dog Day Afternoon was based on that article. Like I said, it's a long article. It's been digitized, so you can read it like it's PDF, like online if you want to. It's a good article. And so he actually got, I think, about $7,500, like for the rights to the story from, I think it was Warner Brothers. And he did indeed give a portion of that money to Liz to get, the gender-affirming surgery. So 1975, he's still in jail, and Dog Day Afternoon premiered. Now, Warner Brothers actually went to him in the prison and said, we can do a free screening at the prison, and the warden said no. Now, according to John, he threatened the warden that if they didn't show the movie, he's like, look, because I've been talking this movie up for all this time, and they're going to think I'm lying, that I'm making it up. I'm going to start a prison riot and all this other kind of shit. I don't know if that's true, but he did do a letter writing campaign. Like he wrote to the straight press, the gay press, and complaining about it's we're just trying to show the movie, and they won't let us and all this other kind of stuff. So eventually the prison did cave. So he got to watch the movie by himself, like him and a guard watched it, and then they showed it to all the other inmates also. Now, not too long after, he liked the movie. He thought Al Pacino was great in it. He thought Chris Sarandon was great in it, which I agree, they both are. But he said that the movie was what he called only 30% accurate. He said he didn't like that it didn't have the surgery motive as central to the narrative, which I guess is, they don't really tell you why he's doing the robbery until much later in the movie.
That's best, though.
Like I said, you don't even find out he's gay until way later in the movie. Although, like I said, it's hard to say, nowadays, if you didn't know the real story, it might come out of left field. But I feel like in 1975, that was only 3 years after the shit really happened, everyone would have known the story because it was a huge fucking story. And it was crazy. So everybody remembered it. So I feel like everybody that saw the movie already knew the real story, so no one was surprised.
Although I like the gay angle. You see, they were going, he's gay, he's a gay activist, but his own trans wife is going, no, he's not gay. He's just a fucking freak. He was
No,
bisexual.
she said he was bisexual.
Bisexual, but pansexual.
Because she thought
he leaned towards women.
And I don't know if this is true or not, because it did seem like he mostly fucked dudes after he got back from Vietnam.
It was easier.
But according to Liz, she said that he was still fucking his wife on the regular.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but that was her perception.
He was a pansexual. As long as he was nutting, he was happy. Okay. And his sexual orientation wasn't about people's fucking plumbing. It was more about how much attention he was getting.
Yeah.
He was an attention whore more than anything.
Oh, big time.
And straight women are not going to give this particular guy very much attention. He's not going to be able to command much attention. There's too much male competition. Goes into the gay scene. There's kind of like a smaller audience, so he can command that audience. He can get more attention from them. And he said the sex was easier. His words, not mine. And in the 70s gay scene, from everything that I've heard, I could ask Toby about it. Yeah, it was a fuck fest. And he said it was easier. So, I don't see him as straight or gay. He was just he was a pansexual. He was just into himself. Kind of a very self-centered, self-aggrandizing kind of pervert. He called himself a pervert. And he was a satyr, which is a male nymphomaniac. And he said that he liked that gay scene because he said it was very sexually oriented. It was about sex. And he could get it easier there.
Although, like I said,
back then it was about sex.
He said in the interview, he said, at that time, like I said, this is pre-AIDS.
Yeah.
That the gay scene was, very sexually forward, obviously.
Yeah.
It was very sexually oriented. He said, but after Stonewall, it became like a lot more politically oriented, so he started getting into that end of it also.
Yeah. Yeah, well, to be in the scene, you had to go that. You had to become political,
because
or you wouldn't have cred.
Because everyone was fucking upset about that, rightfully.
He's a self-serving guy.
Yeah.
He's trying to get a nut. It's not anything high-minded. It's the same kind of base. In a way, it's the same base motives of fucking kind of like an average straight guy. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get this pussy. That's the kind of guy he was. But I will give it to this: he was a romantic. He was
in a weird way, yeah.
He would self-sacrifice for it. He wanted to be in the middle of an orgy. That didn't mean he didn't love these people. He I love all kinds of people, just because if he's in love with somebody, then he's in that mix. You know what I mean? He was very attention-seeking.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways this robbery was part of his attention-seeking drive.
Yeah, I think so, too.
He's out there fucking talking to the crowd and shit and trying to get...
Yeah, like there's footage of it. Like I mean, the movie is not really exaggerated because there's so much footage of the actual incident because the media was there like pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, and by today's standards, that's unheard of.
He was out on the sidewalk yelling at the cops and cheering at the crowd and shit like that.
You couldn't do that today. The fucking snipers would kill you.
No, they just shoot you.
They just shoot you. Then they would dare you to shoot the fucking hostages. Yeah, that's how forward they are now. You can't negotiate with the cops now. They just kill you. They go ahead, kill the hostages. We don't give a fuck. We're gonna kill you. They don't care because they're just it's more of an Israeli style. That was the Israeli style. They would just say, "Oh, you're gonna take our hostages? Then they're already dead. Kill them all." And that was how they did, like the raid at Entebbe, and that sent the message to the Palestinians at that time that you can't take Israelis hostages because they just kill everybody, so it doesn't work. Which that's a better long-term strategy, if you ask me. All hostages are considered dead. So you go in there as a raid and kill as many, and whoever survives it, you saved. It's kind of like you're pulling them out of the grave. And that was kind of how they did the raid at Entebbe.
According to John, and I don't know if this is true, because like I said, you have to take a lot of what he says as a grain of salt. But he said that during the standoff, that the mayor of New York City called him and basically said, we will kill all the hostages to get you because you're making New York City look ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. Like, after all the gay stuff came out. I don't know if that's true or not, or if he was just spinning a yarn. But, because most of the cops just didn't really not want it. They did try to get in the back at some point.
Yeah,
but,
that was a funny scene.
That was a funny scene. Yeah, like I said, the movie is surprisingly funny. just because it's so absurd. Like they're just comically unprepared for this fucking shit.
Yeah.
And like all the shit that goes wrong, and it's just a ridiculous situation. Like some of the funniest scenes, like early on, like even the head teller starts like bitching him out. It's like, were you prepared for this at all? You know what I mean? And she's like reading him the riot act because he's
but evidently
just,
that's what was happening.
I know, that's why it's funny. It's like it's not zany, but it's like low key funny just because the situation is so absurd, and like and because you can see the power shift. Like obviously when they first come in, like, you know, they're all scared and everything, but within a few minutes they can tell these people are just kind of idiots, and so they don't necessarily turn on them, but they just don't treat them like a threat anymore.
Yeah, kind of bully them a little bit and make fun of them. Why didn't you do this? Yeah. You guys aren't good bank robbers, you know.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What the fuck
you guys
doing,
suck
man?
at this.
Yeah.
You know?
Which it was true. Well, you could tell instantly that they sucked as bank robbers because they were calling each other by their first names in front of all the fucking witnesses.
Yeah. They weren't even wearing masks or nothing. Like
they didn't even think about, hey, you don't call me by my name when we're in here.
Yeah.
Even Tarantino in his movies are like they're Mr. White and Mr. Orange. They didn't fucking use each other's names.
Mr. Pink.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah, he didn't. So a few things he didn't like about the movie. Like I said, he thought the movie was great. He thought all the acting was great, all of that. But he said it wasn't accurate because the surgery wasn't the main driving motive, which, like I said, whatever. But yeah, they don't really tell you why he's doing the bank robbery until like much later in the movie. But like I said, in 1975, everybody would have already known the real story because it was still fresh in everyone's minds. He also did not like the portrayal of his wife Carmen. His quote was, "They made her look horrible and inferred that I left her and winded up in the arms of a gay man because of her. This is completely untrue, and I feel sorry for the actress for having to play such a horrible role." Because, yeah, they did kind of imply that she's not... I mean, in the movie, she's only in a scene or two, and they're, like, talking on the phone. And she does come across as, like, kind of, like I said, like a harpy. And she's, like, screeching at him and, you know, and it implies that he's abusive, which I'm not really sure if he was. I mean, he might have been.
Gina's asking about the kitties, the neighbors' kitties. No, we're going over there twice a day and taking care of them. They're happy to see us. They're going to get picked up Monday.
Yeah, the lady's coming on Monday to get them.
Yeah, the woman who died, it's her friend who lives a couple hours from here. And next of kin didn't get the house. All right? We found the will. The will went to her friend in California. But the attorney said she can't take the house because she doesn't have what it takes. It has to do with the money, I guess, and she didn't want to come here. And this house has a lot of settling. There's a lot of shit that has to be done. So it went to the woman who's going to come get these cats. Prudence's friend, who lives a few hours from here.
Yeah, she only lives a couple hours away.
Yeah, we don't know that house is supposed to be paid for, but we don't know if there's liens on it. We don't know what the deal is economically. There's some signs that are kind of strange as shit that was found we found in the house. Hey, they're dead, but I still don't want to talk about other people's business too much. We don't know what the finances were like in there.
Yeah, we're really only concerned about the kitties.
The kitties, that's all we care about.
We want the kitties to go to a good home. Like I said, if we have to take them, we will. It's not an ideal situation.
Yeah.
But they're adorable and... You know,
next of kin, who was the brother. He's out now. He was going to give me all the guns, but it turns out no, he doesn't have the right to give me all the guns. So that's going to be part of the estate.
Yeah,
there really wasn't anything worthwhile. It was an old Sigma 9mm, a 380 I can't find, a 22 Magnum revolver, a 357 Magnum revolver, and there was a very interesting 1904 Colt Police Positive Special in 32 long. It's with the holster from 1904 in pretty good condition, 80%. Probably worth $600, but still, it's only $6. That's nothing. I got rifles worth that, modern rifles worth that. So that was the only thing that was interesting in there. And the only thing that was the 380 I can't find was the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. I pulled the place upside down. Was looking in jacket pockets,
they had like a list
it's a purse
of all
gun.
this stuff.
It's a little 380 purse gun. I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to leave it unsecured in that house. I got everything in here, in the house. I'm gonna give it all to him, and ammo. I'll give it to him when they take possession of the house. But I don't want that in an unsecured house.
Yeah, we didn't take anything from it except the shit out of their freezer.
I think what happened is that she.
That was gonna go bad.
This is what I think happened. I think she had that 380 in her purse when she went to the hospital, and I think you can't take a gun to the hospital. I think they took it from her.
Maybe they did. Yeah, maybe it's.
And then she forgot about it, and she never reclaimed it.
Yeah, so it might be a lost and found or some shit.
It's in some safe in the hospital somewhere, but I don't know what hospital she went to.
No, I don't either. Like I said, I didn't. You knew them. I didn't really know them. I never went over there. I mean, you know them, but you went over there a couple times to help them. Yeah, because they were all falling over and shit.
Yeah, and so I don't know. They gave me the keys when they died. Hospice gave me the keys. I had the keys to this fucking mansion. It's a beautiful house. Beautiful.
It is really nice.
It's so boring in there though, man, because they didn't have any internet. Can't turn the TVs on for the cats.
Because we wanted to turn the TVs on so there at least be noise like for the cats so they wouldn't feel like they were all alone.
Yeah.
We can't figure out they don't have any Wi-Fi.
There's no Wi-Fi.
I'm just like, what the
cable?
fuck? I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest shit ever. They had a bunch of TVs, and I'm assuming they were watching them, but we can't figure out how to get them to work.
And there's a bunch of laptops in there, but they've all got passwords, and I'm like, how are they getting fucking internet? There doesn't seem to be any Wi-Fi in here. Unless they were using roaming. I don't know how they had it set up.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like,
I got all their phones laid out. There's cash. And I got the fucking cash there.
We just laid everything out, like, on the tables and everything like that. We didn't take nothing. Like I said, the only shit we took, because they said we could, they said, well, if there's any food in there that's going to go bad, y'all can have it, because obviously it's just going to go bad. So
we didn't know when the power would be cut.
Yeah, so it's like take everything out of the freezers.
Everything in the refrigerator's going bad.
Yeah, and like it would start to stink or rot.
Yeah, or whatever. So I got like a couple of heckin' hams and a turkey and some fucking
they had like
bunch of frozen fish and fish fucking fillets and steaks. I don't know where they got steaks, where they weren't dated or labeled. They were just wrapped in saran. You got them from a butcher shop somewhere. The steaks were good. There's only 2 left now.
Yeah, we ate them.
But they're cat food, cat litter, that's all still over there. You know, the house looks nice. I got the fucking AC set at 75. They had the AC off when I found them because they were getting cold.
Yeah.
And he'd been working on that AC. There was electronic stuff around. So that's like a weird sign. Like they didn't have money to hire somebody to repair the AC, so he did it himself. I don't know. What was it? I found a bunch of credit cards. Bunch of them. Which tells me that they knew they were dying. Made me think that they were living off credit cards in their final years, knowing they didn't have to repay them. I don't know. It's weird. That's all up to the lawyer. I'm worried just about the cats and the guns.
Yeah, we just want the cats
and the guns
to go somewhere.
If that place got robbed and them guns would be falling into the wrong hands. So that's the next of kin says, I'm getting these guns out of here. He's like, yeah, get them out of there. They're yours. But then it turns out that he can't give them to me. He doesn't have the right.
Yeah.
They're part of the estate.
I don't really care about that. I just care about
it's probably all going to be auctioned.
Go. So what we've been doing, like I said, the lady is coming Monday, and she's gonna take the cats, and so we just have to go over there a couple times a day and feed them and.
Yeah, and she's not actually getting that house. She's getting executorship.
Yeah.
So the house is gonna be auctioned. It's gonna be sold. And guess who's getting the money from the house? Girl Scouts of America.
Oh, is that who she left it to?
Yeah, that's what was it.
Okay.
Well, that was like one of the backups in there.
Yeah, she must have worked for Girl Scouts at some point.
Yeah. So that means the guns are going to be auctioned, and the trucks, and the fucking cars and shit, and the motorcycles.
They got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they got I know where all the titles are. All that shit's going to be handed over to the attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's
and you're like, well, why was I doing it? They're extinct. That's an extinct family. The next of kin was a brother of the woman that lived there, and he lives far away.
Like Ohio or
Ohio,
something?
Yeah, Ohio.
And he was like, "Fuck that."
And he was telling me what to do.
He's also old. So.
He was also old.
But that was it. I think that was the only relative.
That was the only relative. Yeah.
And he was just like, whatever.
And he's only got a few years himself.
Yeah.
So it's an extinct family. So they gave the keys over to the neighbor. That's weird.
Yeah, because you'd been over there.
Yeah.
And after they got taken away.
Yeah, and I found that they had a lawyer. from some shit they had laid out on the fucking thing. And that's what I call.
Yeah, that's how. So we've been sorting through all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like I said, we just go over there because we have the keys. So we just go over there every day and make sure that the kitties have food and water. Give them some pets. They've got toys. They got stuff. It's a nice house. The AC's on. The power's on.
Here's the thing.
There's lights on.
If next of kin were to get it, I was going to help him get ready to put it back on the market. I'd have got something out of it. Which that's why I was fucking doing shit anyway. Now I don't not get anything out of it. I'm just worried about the cats now.
Yeah, now we just want to make sure the cats go to a good home. Like I said, if worse comes to worse, we will take the cats. Because like I said, over my dead body, they are not going to a fucking shelter.
No. No, they're nice cats.
They are super, super sweet.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I really, really hope this lady is nice to them. I'm gonna kick her ass. But, you know what I mean? Because I kind of want to take them.
Yeah.
But Beijing is very old, and she's very cranky, and I don't know how she's going to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
I think Bambi and Pookie would probably be okay.
It would take time.
I think they'd be weirded out at first, like, what the hell is this
Who
now?
are these cats? Yeah.
But I think they would chill out after a while. Because, I mean, it took Pookie a while to get used to Bambi. But now they're just like little buds. They just hang out all the time.
The thing is, the other cat in there, he's a fixed male. He's big. He's kind of a bully.
A little bit.
He's nice, but he pushes the other one around, takes the food and shit. And what he would do is he'd try to fight to get up on the bed. And he loves me. Wherever I'm going, he's following behind me. Yeah. He wanted me to go out. He wanted to go outside with me. I said, "Come on outside. You want to go outside?" She was like, "No, I'm outside."
Yeah, he follows Tom around. He's super friendly.
Duding out with me, and see, Pookie
friendly.
would be jealous as shit.
Yeah, he's like, "That's my daddy.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Because even now, Pookie, if you're petting Bambi,
Yeah.
Pookie will look at, like, give you death glare.
Yeah.
Why are you petting that kitty? You know, she kind of looks at. She won't do anything, but she just looks at you like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Gramther says, "Our cat poops all over. That place will have to be gutted if the floors have been pissed on." No. They go.
No,
they got litter box.
Litter box,
So we go over there and scoop the
day.
litter box every day and take out the trash and everything like that, just like we would do with our cats.
Yeah.
So they're good kitties. They just, they're very clean.
No, that house is clean. It looks nice. Yeah.
They just kind of hang out on the bed, or they just kind of play with their little toys, like on the floor.
Came in the other day. They were up on the counters. And they went, "Oh shit!" They ran.
Oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah, they ran.
I don't know what they were doing up there.
They were. I don't know. They were both up there playing.
That's funny. Yeah, it's a male and a female.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's why I was kind of asking on Facebook, like, if anybody, because I said you have to take them both. I don't want to separate them because they grew up together, and I think they're little boyfriend girlfriend. But they're super, super sweet, really sweet cats. So I really hope shit works out. I'm just glad that lady better come here Monday and better take care of this.
When he first saw me, I walked into the house and he was up on the bed, and the female was beside him, and they were both like, "Who's that dude?" And he fucking swatted her, chased her off the bed and down behind a curtain, and then he got in front of the curtain, was guarding her.
Yeah. Don't you hurt my girlfriend.
Yeah. Run! And he's like, he told her to run, and he's blocking her. Says, "Up, it's okay, it's all right." Fucking was chilling out with him, and then she came out, and she's like, "Who is that?" Yeah. He's like, "He's okay, he's all right." I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
they're. So he's being a man, he's protecting his woman. Get out! He's dangerous.
Go hide.
Run!
They're so cute. Seriously. Yeah, so we've been just going over there like in the morning and then going over there in the evening. We went over there like about an hour before the show and filled up their water and gave them all kind of food and pets and everything like that. And then we came back. And then we'll go over tomorrow morning again. So we'll just do that all weekend.
500th episode is insane, man.
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, it's like I said, they're very clean. Like, and they just have a litter box. Like,
yeah. So
we just scoop the litter box every time we go over there, just like I would do with our candies. So yeah, where was I? I'm almost to the end of the story. So yeah, like I said, so he didn't like the way that Carmen was portrayed in the movie, which I kind of get it. She does come across as kind of like a shrieking harridan, but and I don't know if the movie like outright comes and says that, that it was her fault that he went and started sleeping with men. Because he's like, that wasn't how it was. Like, they had been broken up for a while before, like, he really started doing that. So it wasn't a big deal. But the thing that pissed him off the most was that he thought, that the movie implied very strongly that he had made a deal to betray Sal. And he said that is absolutely not true. I would never do anything like that. I can kind of see where he's coming from. Like, I don't know if it's that overt in the movie, but in the movie, there is a point where John or Sonny, like in the movie, is talking to one of the FBI agents, and the FBI guy says, you know, oh, don't worry about Sal. We'll take care of Sal. And John doesn't say, like, okay, or do what you got to do, or he doesn't say anything like that. He's almost kind of like, what? But then when Sal asks him, what are you guys talking about? Like, you were out there a long time, blah, blah, blah. He's, oh, nothing. We were just, like, negotiating. So he doesn't tell him. So I can see how you could kind of read that as he's kind of given Sal, or that was how John perceived it anyway, that he had kind of given Sal up, or, like, so he could get away. But so John didn't like the implication that he would have sold Sal out to get away. So that was like his main criticism of the movie. Like, he really did like the movie, like, overall, and thought everybody was great in it. But like I said, he thought it was kind of inaccurate. However, that did not stop him from using the movie, like I said, to, like, trade on the fame of it, like, for the rest of his life, essentially. And like I said, if you have never seen Dog Day Afternoon from 1975, like, it's one of the quintessential classic 1970s movies, especially if you like movies about New York City. You know, it was all filmed. As the inside of the bank, I think they just built it, like, inside a warehouse. But, you know, the opening shots of it, they just went around Brooklyn and, like, just took shots of regular people and shit like that. So it's really a time capsule of that era. And like I said, this might be one of the most Brooklyn movies ever fucking made. And I just really, really like I don't know, it's just the truth of it. Just the way it's just this organic. Like I said, the acting is just very naturalistic. Everyone's just very organic. Everyone's yelling over each other and shit like that. It's really, really well done, the whole thing. And it's just, it's long, but it doesn't seem long. You know what I mean? It's, like, really compelling. And like I said, it's also kind of darkly funny at the same time, just because the whole fucking shit was ridiculous, like, the way it played out. And strangely enough, too, and this is something you didn't really see, especially in movies of this era, I kind of feel like gay characters were usually still seen as outsiders or freakish in some way or something like that. And this movie really doesn't have that. I mean, and like I said, Sidney Lumet was very adamant that he's just like, I just want them to be human. He's like, I don't want people to see them as, like, weirdos or anything like that, which, like I said, had been very common in movies up to that point, or, like, caricatures. He's like, I just want them to be regular ass people, because that's what they are. And he's like, and I want people to sympathize with them. I want them to humanize them. And really, you didn't see that much in movies from this era. And I think it did a really, really good job of that. And it, like I said, it was something you really didn't see, especially back then. And
well, I don't know. At this time, it was starting to come forward.
Yeah, but I still feel like there was, because a lot of people didn't understand it still, and it was still criminalized to a degree, you didn't really see, even if you saw a movie like Cruising, which I think was later, that was William Friedkin, it still kind of had that, oh, gays are kind of sleazy, or there was, you know what I mean, like, it was this underworld kind of thing. And Sidney Lumet did not want that. He just wanted them to be regular ass people. Yeah. So people wouldn't snicker at it. And I think they did a really, really good job of that. You know, nobody is a caricature. Nobody is a stereotype. Everyone just comes across as, like, a person. And I think he did a really good job of that, which, like I said, for 1975 is really good.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that back in the 70s, even in a place like New York, fucking a dude could get beat up by the cops because you're dressed like a woman.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, technically it was against the law.
Because you're like, you should be able to wear whatever you want to wear.
Well, obviously.
Like, we're goths. We wear all kinds of shit. And then sometimes they get lumped into, oh, you're wearing that, you must be gay. You know, just the weird shit like that.
Yeah, there was some crossover.
There was, like, some kind of crossover.
Well, like I said, because a lot of goth dudes, especially not... I mean, I guess some of them still do nowadays, but, like, a lot of them would wear, like, long skirts and stuff like that.
Not so much back in the 80s and 90s. That's a little bit more
That was
new.
I feel like that was I started to see that more in the 90s, although I did see it in the 80s too. I did see it in the 80s.
Yeah,
I don't think it was
maybe.
as
But the
common.
thing is that they definitely were not cross-dressing. It was
wasn't the
about
same.
like what was happening in the heavy metal scene.
Yeah.
If you look at fucking if you look at Motley Crue, fucking especially the first album, they're wearing their girlfriend's clothes.
Yeah, of course.
That's their girlfriend's fucking boots and shit. They're wearing just But they were getting that from, the rock acts that came before it. Fucking
Well, like I said,
Dolls and
from
shit.
from glam, yeah, like
Glam
New
metal.
York, New York
Yeah.
Dolls.
New York Dolls and shit, yeah. Which, those dudes were fucking straight, man. But they were fucking crazy. But that was just the look. And it was the same as people pushed it. It was a time when I guess there was a lot of normieism and a lot of fucking boring kind of
Yeah, I mean, even though it was
conformity.
still, yeah, there was
because-
still a lot of lingering conformity.
It was
And
really
I think
conforming.
maybe some of the people that were into conformity, like, had even like dug their heels in even more, like
Yeah,
after
trying
the
to-
'60s
just
and the
very
hippies and
conforming.
everything. So they were just kind of like, no, we have to go back. This is getting too crazy and too
Yeah.
degenerate or whatever. We're just allowing everything nowadays. Blah blah
'Cause-
blah. Like they would get all like that.
A lot of cool shit started coming out of the 70s. And really, if you really want to fucking thank one person, it might have been a group effort, but I think the main dude who fucking stopped all the nonsense, I'm going to say, is David Bowie. Because David Bowie fucking broke a lot of fucking barriers. He was LARPing. He was a very artistic, intelligent, straight dude, LARPing as a gay man, LARPing as a transsexual. He would LARP as a Martian. He would LARP as a rock star who thought he was a Martian. Fucking. And it was just kind of like, that's all normalized now. The whole idea of LARPing. Because think about it. When you bought a record album from an artist, you thought it was the same artist all the time. Not with David Bowie. It was a different David Bowie every time. Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And then all of a sudden it's David Bowie from the Let's Dance album. Every fucking album is a different character. And it's like live action role playing. Now that's kind of normal. You see that in conventions.
Yeah, and like no one bats an
Nobody
eye.
bats an eye at it. And that kind of normalized idea. What does it matter what somebody's wearing? They're not hurting anybody.
It doesn't.
And if they want to do a role or put on a show, you know what I mean? And that's what a lot of this drag stuff is, And a lot of this shit that was happening in the club life. Club life is a life of fantasy, and they're putting on a show. And not going out there dancing for their friends.
Even more recently, look at, like, if you're from Central Florida, like,
Yeah.
everybody remembers, like, Peter Pan guy,
Peter Pan guy. Yeah.
who I used to see
Dressed
at
as
the,
Peter Pan.
who I used to see at the castle back in the late 90s,
Yeah. He dressed as Peter Pan.
just because he was rolling to Peter Pan.
He's still around, isn't he? He's still alive?
He might be. He's
Yeah.
he's in his 60s now.
Yeah.
But I used to see him all the time. Everybody knew Peter Pan guy. He was on some talk shows
at
and
the
shit
castle.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to see him at the castle. Everybody knew him. He was kind of a local celebrity.
Yeah.
And nice
Got
dude.
married-
Nice dude.
Got married to a girl who fucking liked Peter Pan. And they do Peter
He
Pan.
just
together.
really dug Peter Pan.
Yeah, Peter
And he
Pan.
wanted to dress up. I was like,
The leotards and everything.
Okay.
The little fucking hat.
hey man, there's not,
He's a computer programmer.
yeah, it's a,
Software engineer.
it's a cruel world. Okay,
Yeah.
like if you can find some little joy somewhere in your
Yeah.
life, who am I to shit on that?
He pull out a ukulele and start singing. He can
Yeah.
sing and dance and
He's
shit.
a nice dude.
Yeah, he's a normal guy.
He's a
normal guy.
genuinely nice dude.
He just had a Peter Pan fantasy. And he'd take it to the clubs. Take it to the nightclubs.
Yeah, and like I said, and the goth scene was kind of the
Yeah.
most accepting of that, because like I
Yeah.
said, goths are just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, and he wasn't a goth.
No,
He was like something out of Disney.
but everybody knew
Like-
him.
yeah.
and he liked he liked that music
Yeah.
too. So he would just go there and everybody
He
would be
was-
like, "Hey, Peter Pan."
Yeah,
guy."
he was a LARPer
Yeah.
doing that down.
And that was even
cosplay.
really, and that
He
was
doing a
even
cosplayer.
really. I feel like that was even. I saw him before like LARPing was really a big
Yeah.
thing.
And you look at Instagram, man, fucking shit. Almost everybody I follow is some kind of cosplay model chick. You know what I mean? All, you know, they're fucking dressing up as fucking something out of Warhammer. You know, and so they're working out. Fucking, it's just back in. The internet, I think, has really kind of opened up people's minds because there isn't 13 channels of shit on the television like fucking like Pink Floyd Off the Wall. You know, 13 channels of shit on the TV to choose from. It's now opened up. You can see what everybody else is doing, and then now there's a whole thing of fucking just people in the internet reacting off of other people in the internet. It's all a thing, you know. And they're going to conventions and dressed up as video game characters or whatever, you know. And now we know what that is. That's cool. Back in the 70s, they would have thought it was some kind of perversion.
Yeah.
This is weird, you know.
Which, like I said, so like even, I mean, I feel like back in the 70s.
Yeah. What you wear.
Even in New York City, like literally you were taking your life in your hands,
Yeah.
going out in the street, like as a gay man, like wearing makeup or something like that. You're probably going to get your ass beat.
Nobody would care nowadays.
But nowadays, like no one would bat an eye. Well,
Yeah.
you know what's kind of funny though? Is that Chris Sarandon, who played Leon, who is the Liz equivalent in Dog Day Afternoon, he said he wanted to see what it would be like to look like that character and like walk around in the street. So he put on makeup and he kind of teased his hair out like you see him in the movie and kind of did the outfit or whatever. And he said he just went and walked around Greenwich Village and he said no one even looked at him sideways.
Yeah.
He's like, New Yorkers don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'd outgrown it, I guess.
I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, he's like, yeah, nobody even really looked at me twice.
Coming from a goth background, me and Jen were kind of like used to having people kind of pigeonhole you for the way you're dressed. We normally got fucking, they'd be fucking throwing shit at us, going Marilyn Manson. You know, they thought you were some kind of fucking.
Or in the '80s, it was Satan.
Satan, yeah. They became Marilyn Manson, and they thought you were. They would.
You love Satan.
There's like some kind of like sexual connotation that you were like Marilyn Manson. This like kind of weird shit, but that's not what the scene was actually like.
One of the reasons we still hate Marilyn Manson to this day.
Marilyn Manson was not popular.
I'm like, I didn't like Marilyn Manson. Piss
so
off.
Caught so much flack over.
I was like, I've been dressing like this before you even heard of Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fucking
So
funny.
it's like I was like jackhole.
But yeah, it was just a weird time. Everybody was very conformist, and they had a very small Overton window of what was acceptable. They didn't like any kind of nuance or anything new. And gay people get caught up in that because they had their own little. And really, just be honest, man. The reason why they were catching flack is because they had a club scene.
Yeah.
But even straight club scenes can get wild. If it's, you know what I mean? Fucking, we had our own looks and our own outfits.
Yeah, like I said,
and then it all just started to blend to where the goth scene did have some gay people in it. But it wasn't a gay scene, it was a goth scene.
Yeah.
Then you'd have fucking a gay scene, and they had their own look too, depending on, and their own music they were listening to. But you also now have like gangbanger scenes with fucking rap and shit going on and shootings happening, you know, whatever. Fucking in the scene, you know. It's just different types of club scenes. And then like some of the really normal shit, that's all having tables and fucking buying bottles and fucking VIP tables and wasting your money and trying to impress girls because you're at a VIP table. I think that's out of style now. But evidently in other countries they still kind of do that. Just tacky shit, you know.
Yeah, I think mostly people here would think that was lame.
That's all shit for that's all fucking what do you call it? Amateurs. That's like amateur hour. The real pro club goers, they know who you are because you've been going there for years. They know that you know how to dance. You know all the fucking songs. You know everybody. The staff loves you. You might be promoting for the club. You don't know. You know that's the way a real club scene goes. The buying bottles and fucking tables and VIP tables, that's normie shit.
That's a rookie mistake.
Those are people that don't go out to the club a lot. Yeah.
They don't even. I've never even been to a club where that was a thing.
Yeah.
I don't go to. I
don't
go to this.
I've just seen it. I've just seen it on YouTube and heard about it.
I've heard about it too, but like I said, I've never in my life been to a place like that. I wouldn't go to a place like that.
If you have to buy your way into cool, you're not cool.
Yeah, of course.
Being really cool
is free.
Cool is free in a way.
Cool is free.
You got to spend money on clothes.
But you can't try to be cool.
No,
too.
it just happens. It just happens.
You just either are or you're not.
Yeah.
You know?
You can't buy your way into cool in a truly cool club.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But like I said...
Studio 54 was a truly cool club. But you got in there because you were a celebrity and you had to dance and you fucking had a cool outfits and people liked you.
Yeah, they wouldn't let
That's how you got in there. They didn't get in there because they had money. They got in there because they had notoriety.
Yeah, like street cred.
Yeah, street cred.
I mean, I'm sure money helped, but they would let somebody.
You could buy your way in there slightly, but if you were an ass, they'd throw you out.
Yeah, which that's the way it should be, honestly.
Yeah.
Should be more like a merit system rather than just, you know what I mean.
You rose or fell according to your fucking your abilities.
But like I said, that's what I kind of thought was really, because I was born in the 70s, but I was a little young to know all of this. I know some of it like in retrospect, but it was just really interesting, the whole context of this bank robbery, because it was so tied in with the gay rights movement in the early 70s, and like how it was perceived through that lens. And it's just so funny because just like I feel like the fact that he was so open in 1972 that he was robbing a bank to get his wife gender reassignment surgery is just something that I feel like the squares back then had just, it made their heads explode, I would imagine. And the fact that he was just like completely like nonchalant about like saying it.
Counter like asked me something about the Day In Day Out video from David Bowie.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Tom, do you remember Bowie all in leather for the Day In Day Out video? Yeah, I remember that. Or the Violent Mosh Pit video for his Tin Machine video for
Yeah,
I remember both of those.
All right,
actually.
I'm gonna tell you something, bro.
I haven't seen him in a while, but
the Day In Day Out video. He's in a fucking leather jacket. I have one of those leather motorcycle jackets. And you really look, let me tell you something. You cannot wear that jacket unless you own a motorcycle. Okay? All right. Don't wear that unless you're a girl. Girls can wear that. Fucking, but they're gonna have shit on it, like punk rock look. I had the shoes that David Bowie wore in that video. They were like leather work shoes with chrome toes. They were steel reinforced work boots, but the steel was on the outside, not on the inside. You could see it. I had those. I had a copy of them. I bought them in Brazil when I was there. That's how I liked that video, and I saw those boots. That's a copy of the ones that David Bowie had in the Day In Day Out video. He's also in certain he's wearing roller skates, going by on roller skates. That's a great video. Yeah. But I was big into the Tin Machine fucking albums. I had Tin Machine 1 and 2, very good albums. And fucking highly underrated. If you guys don't know what Tin Machine was, for a while Bowie stopped being a solo act and he joined a band. It has Soupy Sales' sons in it. They were the ones that doing the fucking bass and the guitar. It was called Tin Machine, and it was kind of like a progressive metal band. Really good, really good. It's hard, but it was Bowie doing fantastic fucking vocals, great commentary. Fucking, I Can't Read. Remember that song? Shit, that was fucking good, man. Everything was good. You're making me want to listen to those albums again, man.
Well, they're all on YouTube.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Counter Alex says this is a great Studio 54 picture of Alice Cooper and Edith Bunker. Yeah, what was the name of that actress that played Edith Bunker? I can't remember what her name is.
Oh, I forgot.
Man, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Somebody
Agnes
knows.
something or other, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
No.
That's pretty awesome, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look that picture up. But yeah, it's just kind of like, Counter Alex says you're welcome, Tom. Yeah. Okay, so after John got out of prison, him and Liz started talking again. Now, she did, like I said, so even though the bank robbery was a failure, he obviously got arrested and didn't get to keep all the money that he stole. He did give her money that he got from the movie being made about him, and she did get gender reassignment surgery with that. So she got what she wanted, like, indirectly. However, while he was in jail, she actually married another man, and then later divorced him. And then she got AIDS, and she died of pneumonia, like, complications, AIDS-related pneumonia, in 1987. John actually did attend her funeral and gave a eulogy at that, so, Now, after he got out of prison, like I said, he was in a halfway house for a while, and they said, look, I was on parole, and you have to get a job, or they send you back to prison. That's how that works. So he's like, well, obviously nobody wanted to give him a job because he was an ex-con, and he was actually a pretty well-known ex-con. He was kind of a celebrity-ish, like, around New York. They're like, everybody knew who he was, right, because in the movie. He went back and lived with his mom in Brooklyn. His mom, like, basically supported him the rest of his life. She stood by him. I'll say that. The funny thing is that he actually went and applied for a job as a security guard at the same bank that he had robbed. And which is audacious. I'll give him that.
That's funny.
He basically said, hey, I'm the guy from Dog Day Afternoon. That's my references. Yeah. And he's like, hey, like, if I'm guarding your bank, nobody's going to rob me.
He's full of shit.
Nobody's going to rob it.
He's full of shit.
They were like, no thanks. We'll pass. Understandably.
And by the time this is going down, he's kind of an overweight little guy. By the time
I mean, like I said, he didn't, sadly, he didn't age real well.
He didn't age well, and he didn't build himself up when he was in prison. He kind of just porked out a bit.
And his teeth were all fucked up.
Teeth were fucked up, and he just...
I don't know how his teeth got so bad.
He didn't take care of himself.
Yeah, I guess he didn't.
He was a product of the 70s. The guys of the 70s weren't into fitness that much.
They're like, what? I don't want to be clean.
They thought that was a weird thing. Well, they even in the movie, they kind of laughed at that because the dude, the one gay dude who got fucking plugged in the head at the end, what was his name?
Sal, yeah.
Sal told one of the women was smoking. He just started smoking. He said, "Why do you want to start smoking?" He told her, "You need to take care of your body."
Yeah.
"Oh, I need to take care of my body." Yeah.
She was like,
and she thought that was funny.
Yeah.
It was a funny concept of taking care of your body and being healthy. That was just kind of a 70s thing. They just laughed off physical fitness and health.
Yeah, they called them health nuts.
Yeah,
like, look at those kind of health. Look at those crunchy motherfuckers.
Yeah, they would just sit around eating pork.
What are you gonna go
drinking
jog
pork
or something?
Soda,
weird.
Pork soup with butter sauce and a shit ton of fucking beer.
Jean Stapleton, that was her name. Thank you.
Jean Stapleton, that's right. She could sing.
That was
she could sing and act very well.
Oh, Counterlock said he just sent you that picture of Alice Cooper and Edith Bunker.
Okay, you sent it to me.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I will say though that it seems like I said, he kind of traded. He was on welfare, pretty much the rest of his life. Lived with his mom. The hilarious thing, and they kind of showed part of this in the documentary. Can I see it?
Yeah.
Look at her.
It's so funny because I always remember her as an old lady, and she actually looks.
Yeah, she's not old.
She actually, Jean Stapleton. She was a very good singer and dancer, actually.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I never saw that picture before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was unemployed and he was living with his mom, and he would ring a bell in his room if he wanted something. And his mom would be like, "What do you want?" You know what I mean? It was, like I said, it was so fucking Brooklyn. And there's like, what? Like through the fucking apartment. It's just like so fucking funny. She admitted, she's like, I spoiled him, but I'm like, yeah, you did. But he would make like extra money by like posing for pictures because people knew who he was. Like I said, he had some notoriety. Like obviously that started to fade as time went on, but for a while, like people knew who he was, so they always would like pay him to like take a picture of him in front of the bank, that he robbed, because they thought that was funny. And actually, a couple of times there were pictures of him on the internet where he had a shirt made that said, "I robbed this bank," that had pictures of him in front of the bank that he tried to rob. So it's pretty fucking funny. But yeah, he would tell anybody who listened that it's like, Dog Day Afternoon, that's me. Like I said, he even started calling himself the Dog, which is what the documentary about him is called. He gave himself that nickname because of the movie. because he wanted everybody to know that the movie was about him. Like I said, even though he said he complained that it was inaccurate, but he did say later that he's like, well, it got Liz what she wanted. Like, I gave her the money and she got the sex change, and, you know, I just wanted her to be happy, and she's happy, so that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, he seemed okay with it. Like I said, there was... It's really weird because there was a couple of interviews. Like, Liz was on a talk show in the 70s when he was still in prison. And they had somebody asking him, like, you know, talking to him in the prison. And then Liz was in the, you know, studio with the lady interviewing her. And he... Like, John said to her that he's like, you know, that he loved her very much and was just, like, so glad she was happy. And even if you never want to see me again, it's like, you know, I'm glad you got what you wanted and all this other kind of stuff. And he actually seemed pretty genuine about it. And she seemed really kind of broken up, and she's like, oh, it was so sweet and everything like that. But then, at a different time, like, I think after he was out of prison, I'm thinking, they did this other interview with this guy who had kind of like a... I don't know if it was like a like an underground type show or something like that. I think the guy that was the host was like a porn star or something. And he interviewed both of them like at the same time. And Liz seemed real hostile like in that interview, and basically was like, I don't think you robbed the bank for me. Like, I think you had mafia debts, and you're full of shit, and telling the host like you didn't know us before that, and it was this whole ordeal. So, I don't know. Like, she seemed to go back and forth about, like, appreciating him for doing what he did, and saying that he didn't really do it for the reasons that he said that he did.
Matt's coming out Saturday to Memento.
Oh, okay, good.
He's coming in from New York.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go to Memento on Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you do have to admire, even though, like I said, as time went on, it did seem like John was very kind of try-hard, because... Standing in front of the bank you robbed with a shirt that says, I robbed this bank. That kind of, that's straddling the line between, like, baller and edgelordy lame. I'm not really sure where I fall on that. It is kind of funny, I will admit. So there's a bunch of pictures of him with that shirt on. Like him and George were out in front of the bank with that fucking shirt. Now, so yeah, in the documentary, which, like I said, came out in 2013... But John actually died in 2006. He got cancer. So there's tons of interviews with him in there, but they're, you know, older. Although they're all good quality and everything like that. But, like, they were all compiled, like, while he was, like, in the last few years of his life. And there's a bit in there with him and his brother, Tony. And he had two brothers. They didn't really talk about the other one. But Tony was, it's normal when he was born. But I guess when he was like 3 or 4 years old, he started having seizures. And I don't know if he got like some kind of brain damage or something or what. But back then, they like took the kid away from the family. And at this point, like, you know, the mom, Terry, she was just like, she's like, no, I'm not signing that. You're not taking my kid. You know what I mean? But they took him away and they institutionalized him. And he was in an institution. He's in an institution his whole life. Like, they would let him out once a year, and John would go and see him, and they'd take him to Coney Island or some shit like that. But that was kind of sad. So it's like they kind of went into that a little bit, too. And Tony didn't seem like he was... I mean, you could tell something was the matter with him, for sure. But he seemed like a really friendly dude, honestly. But that was kind of sweet, like, that they showed, like, him and his brother, like, hanging out. And talking to people about Dog Day Afternoon and everything like that. So yeah, so John actually died of cancer in 2006. They actually showed in the documentary, like, his mom had this little room with pictures of him and shit like that, and she had his ashes in an urn there. Obviously his mom has also passed away at this point. I believe Carmen has also passed away, and like I said, Liz also died of AIDS in 1987. So most of the people are... I don't know whatever happened to Bobby, like the one guy that... I don't know if he's still around or not, because he was pretty young. But yeah, so... This is, like I said, it's a crazy story. And as great as the movie is, the story is even better if you know all the shit that happened leading up to the robbery. you know? Because, like, the movie's great because it just focuses on the robbery and you don't really find out about the motive until, like, later on. But, like, finding out all the context of it was, like, really, really interesting. And actually makes it, like, an even wilder fucking story, if anything. I feel like for a little while, even though he's probably not he's not a household name or anything like that. But I kind of feel like for a while he was sort of like a folk hero, like an anti-hero, you know what I mean? Like he was this little man fighting the system, and you know, he was an out gay man when like that wasn't really a thing that you did. And he had this crazy reason for robbing the bank, and he at least made it seem like he was doing it as this big grand romantic gesture. Whether that was true or not, I don't really know. Or maybe he exaggerated that later for effect. But I think people kind of responded to that, you know? So, and like, if you see, please watch the documentary, The Dog, because yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know. I don't know why it went up when the volume went up. I just went back to the fucking stream and it was fucking full blast.
But he's a fucking character for sure. And you can kind of see why his story sort of resonated with so many people. Like I said, I feel like probably nowadays, because it happened so long ago, that maybe younger people haven't heard of it or anything like that, unless they're movie nuts and they've seen Dog Day Afternoon, obviously. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's an interesting time capsule because of the time period and all the shit that was going on at the time.
I thought it was a good bank heist movie. I had no idea it had anything to do with fucking gay or trans shit. I just thought it was just going to be a bank heist movie, something kind of like, fucking what was I thought it was going to be like a 70s crime movie, like Bullet or something.
Not at all.
Well, it does kind of have that tone. It's very serious, It's a very serious movie. And then as the fucking crime starts unfolding, and now the audience of the time I think they knew what it was about.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what it was about. As it starts to unfold, I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. This is who these dudes are? This is why they're doing it. And it is funny. But it's not a comedy. And
the situation is so absurd.
And Pacino does a great job.
He's so good in this.
He's very well casted in this. All right? And as shit starts falling apart during this robbery, he's doing a really good job acting. Because you can tell he's just, his whole fucking dreams, all his hopes are being crushed.
And you can see it in his face, like in real time.
Shit. And he's trying to minimize the damage that's happening. And trying to negotiate his way out of this somehow. It ain't gonna happen.
I'll note that
it ain't gonna happen, but it is a great movie. The Dog Day Afternoon is a fucking great movie. And if anything about this show tonight, if you haven't seen that movie, see the movie.
Please watch it.
Just for. It's a great crime movie,
and it's fairly accurate.
From the era.
It's fairly accurate to what really happened. Like I said, it doesn't really give you the context of what led up to it, which is also interesting. But just the heist itself was so crazy. It's like, it's definitely worth it.
And it's a true story. And it seems to be pretty accurate based upon, but it's a good, and it's kind of serious. It's kind of the way it's filmed, the quality is very good. I would put it up there with Steve McQueen's Bullet in terms of quality and gravitas. I love Bullet. It's kind of like Bullet.
Like I said,
but it's a heist movie.
It's a classic 70s movie.
And it's a heist.
It got nominated for all kind of Oscars.
And it's a heist gone wrong.
Yeah.
And how the fuck are we going to get out of this? Yeah. I liked it.
I'll note that one scene where he's talking on the phone to Leon, like I said, the Liz equivalent, and they have a big long conversation, and then he hangs up, and then he talks to his wife Carmen on the phone, and she's like screeching at him and stuff. They had already done, I was watching it behind the scenes, and I thought this was really interesting. They had already done a whole ass take of that. It's like a 7-minute scene or something like that. It's like 2 phone calls. And they're very emotionally wrought, you know what I mean? They had done that in one take. And Sidney was like, man, that first take was so good. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to make him do another one. Because he wanted, he's like, we had been at this all day. And you could tell that he was tired, that Al Pacino was tired. And he's like, and that's what I wanted. I wanted him to be fucking tired and worn out and pissed off. So he's like, because that's what the character was. So there's a great moment, and you can still see it in the movie, they didn't take it out, where after he hangs up with Leon, he looks up. And in the movie, they have it edited so he's looking over at Sal. But in real life, he was looking at Sidney behind the camera like, what are you fucking... Are you serious? We have to do this again? Like, and you can see in his face like, fuck me. And then he calls his wife, and it's like this other, like, emotionally wrought scene. He's just like, he wanted him, and you can see the fucking exhaustion that he is just fucking over it. He's been in there for hours. And everybody... Another thing Sidney Lumet said, too, he was like, I never let... the makeup people, he's like, I let the makeup people do the makeup thing, but he's like, I never let them do the sweat because they never get it right.
Yeah.
So he has his own sweat concoction.
Yeah.
That he does, and it looks really good in this movie. It looks like he's like, I want it to look real. I want it to stay there, so you don't have to keep the continuity and everything like that. So he did all the sweat on all because they'd been the standoff lasted like 14 hours. They turned the AC off. Or the AC went off somehow. And so everybody's in it. It was sweltering. It was August. And everybody was just like sweating their balls off. And so everyone's face is all shiny and everything like that. And you could just tell how miserable everybody was. And they did a really, really good job of like portraying that. Everybody looks really very, very miserable and sweaty. And I think they did a great job of that. So like I said, he really wanted it to seem like the real thing, like when he did the movie.
I think this made a lot of careers. I think this fucking probably made Al Pacino's career. Probably Lance Henriksen.
Henriksen, yeah.
Henriksen. I'm drunk. It all sounds the same to me. You know what I mean? I said Hendrickson. Didn't I?
No, you said Henderson.
I said with the kid, Hendrickson. Isn't that right?
You said
she's grammar Nazi in a motherfucker.
No,
I just said his name, Henderson.
Okay, you said Henderson at first.
What's the difference? You knew who I was talking about.
I know, but it's two completely different names.
All right. I didn't know where I'm going after that. I'm just saying that this movie made a lot of careers, I think.
I mean, Al Pacino had been in shit before this, obviously.
Yeah, but this...
Ken Arlock said Pacino was on a roll in the 70s. Serpico is great. Yeah. We should probably review Serpico at some point, too.
There's a lot of famous people in this movie, and they all did a fucking fantastic job. If you were in this movie, that was helping your career, not hurting it.
Yeah, and like I said, it was like, it got all kind of... And
acting is great.
It only cost a couple $1 million to make, and it made like many, many times its budget.
The acting is great, and the whole thing is entertaining. There isn't a dull moment.
No. Even if you... Because it's probably more tense for you because you didn't know it was going to happen.
Know what's going on.
Like, I knew it was going to happen because I knew the real story. But, so I knew where it was going. But it's still great, even if you know the real story. Because the acting is just superb. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody in it is really good. But like I said...
I remember as a kid, the title Dog Day Afternoon being thrown around.
Yeah.
Like in the mid-late 70s, I remember it. But I didn't know what it was about.
Yeah, it was one of the big movies from the...
Yeah.
Like, it didn't win Best Picture. It got nominated, I think, but it didn't... It got nominated for 6 Oscars. And then it won Best Screenplay.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. Which it is. It is a really good screenplay. Even though, like I said, I think a lot of it was actually improvised. But yeah, and it's fairly accurate to what really happened. But like I said, the context before the robbery is also really interesting and adds a lot to it. So like what we did last night, I had already seen the documentary. But when we watched Dog Day Afternoon last night, and then the dog documentary came on automatically after it, like on Tubi. And so we watched it again.
Yeah.
Or I watched it for the second time and you watched it for the first time. Because I wanted you to kind of get some background on the dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, you got to see this. This dude's crazy.
He's not a bad dude.
No.
He's likable. Man, he just has some shit judgment.
Yeah, he's just kind of a nutcase. He was just kind of a nutcase.
Dumb. Yeah.
But, like I said, even his friend said that.
If you're going to rob a bank, you better know what the fuck you're doing. You better recruit some good crime talent who knows everything about it.
Poor guy.
If you're going to be a professional criminal, you have to understand how the police operate, how DAs operate, how they get indictments. Fucking what? You have to know the law. You have to know how much time you can do for these things. And then you have to know what have other people done? What did they get? How much fucking time did they get afterwards? You see, here's the thing. If you voluntarily decide to become a professional criminal, going to jail is now part of your job. So you have to know how much time you're going to serve. And you must assume that you will eventually serve time. So everything is tailored around avoiding as much time as possible when you're eventually caught. Some guys, and I've known bank robbers, my cousin's one, fucking Pimp Larry, I knew him for fucking, he was an ex-pimp who ended up getting caught for robbing a bank down in New Orleans. Fucking Larry. Most of the time, these dudes going to prison is the retirement plan. Because they're not doing well in life. Like Larry, he wasn't doing well in life, so he was just like, well, I'm going to go rob this fucking bank. If I get caught, it's okay. My retirement will be in prison.
I mean, you don't have to pay rent.
It's the ultimate, won't have to pay rent. It's the ultimate welfare system. Okay.
sounds kind of nice.
Yeah. So they know how much they're going to get when they get caught. And my cousin, he did 15 years Fed time. He got into a shootout with the cops after a bank robbery. He got hit with he built a fucking Sten submachine gun. He had that. He didn't kill anybody or shoot anybody. But once the police cornered him, and he surrendered. And that was after the robbery. He didn't get away. So, but they all kind of knew. All these dudes that I'm talking about, and some of the other guys that I know about that were pros, they know how much time they're facing, and they know the techniques to use. And a real pro doesn't really resist the police. They might evade the police, but once they're in custody, or they'll kind of give up because they don't want to catch any more charges. And the chances of them actually, fighting the police and getting away is very low. And if you kill the cop and then get away, well, one, that's more time. Two, they'll probably kill you next time police come in contact with you, which might be another 5 or 10 minutes anyway. So fighting the police is a pro's not going to do that. He's kind of a repeat customer. He's not mad at the police. He's like, okay, yeah, you got me, all right. And he's going to go do his time, and then he's going to fight his way through the system and come out. He's already planned for all that. So, shit, that one professional art thief remember that professional art thief? Being arrested and going to prison was part of the plan. You had to be in prison in order to negotiate for the release of the art. There's no such thing as being a professional criminal and not doing time. You're eventually going to do time. Just like if you're a professional soldier. If you do that long enough, you will be killed. If you try to make a living with the sword, you will die by the sword. Eventually. Unless you're very lucky or very good. It's the same game. Could be the rest of it.
I had forgotten too that they asked John Wojtowicz if he would do this again, and he said, "You're damn right. I'd still go out and do it." And there was a scene in the documentary where he said, and like I said, I don't know if this is true, but when he was being sentenced for the bank robbery, he asked the judge, like, if your wife had cancer and you couldn't get the money, like, to save her, like, you tried everything and you couldn't get it, it's like, wouldn't you do something illegal, like, to save your wife from dying of cancer? And he said that the judge said no. And then he starts yelling at the Kimbrels, "You don't fucking love your wife because she would do it," you know what I mean? And all this other kind of shit. So he apparently told the sentencing judge right before he was sentenced to prison that the judge did not love his wife enough because he was not willing to do anything illegal to save her, to pay for cancer treatment. Because that's what he was arguing, that's what he was doing. Which, like I said, indirectly, I guess that's sort of true. Like I said, even though he didn't get the money from the bank robbery, he did give the money to Liz that he got from the movie. Like, not all of it, but most of it. And she did get the surgery. And he apparently thought of that as saving her life because she didn't want to live as a man anymore and had attempted suicide numerous times. And he was like, so, I kept her from dying because she would have died if she hadn't got that. That's how he looked at it anyway. But like I said, some people have cast doubts on whether that was the sole motive, but I don't know. That was kind of his narrative and he's sticking to it. And some other people did apparently seem to think that too. But I just thought that was so funny that he reportedly, according to him, went off on the judge about how the judge didn't love his wife enough because he wouldn't do anything illegal.
Was that true? Did he actually do that?
I don't know.
I bet you.
Like I said, I mean, I'm sure there were other people in the courtroom that could attest if he actually did say that or not. I was like, doesn't seem a great thing to say to the judge right before he sentences you, but you know what I mean. That's why you got 20 years. You know what I'm saying? All right. Peter Bohr said, this guy is certainly something, that's for sure. Yeah, like I said, the documentary, The Dog, it's free on YouTube and it's free on Tubi. It's actually really interesting. Like I said, it's more about him and more about the context. Like, they do talk about the robbery and, at great length and stuff, but it's more about the stuff around the robbery and the reasons for it in his past and everything like that. But it's fascinating. And like I said, there's extensive interviews with him, like, in the last few years, like, before he died. And there's kind of, archival footage of Liz and of his mom and others. And there's modern, interviews with his mom and stuff like that, too, and other people that knew them back then. So it's actually, like, really, really interesting.
I respect his willpower and his stupidity, but I wouldn't have played the hand the way he played it.
Well, no. Like I said, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
No.
I'm going to say
They're saying
that.
he's crazy. I don't think he's a little bit above average intelligence. He's probably like 110 IQ. He's very flamboyant and very attention-seeking.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing.
Like I say, he's very arrogant. Like, he has to be the center of attention.
The arrogance is he's trying to overcome insecurities.
Well, yeah, that's usually what arrogance is.
Yeah, he's trying to and he's trying to put on a good show because he wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
He's not a mean guy. I don't really think and he's also, I wouldn't call him a bad guy, really. He was just
yeah, it seemed like his heart was in the right place.
he is a grandstander.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he wanted. He was a look at me, motherfucker. Look at me.
Yeah.
That's all he was.
Yeah.
He did get away with some shit. It is kind of an interesting story. This dude would fucking drive me crazy, though. I couldn't be around this guy for long. He is funny, though. He is funny. I think he would piss me off eventually.
Yeah, you probably want to punch him after a while.
You'd eventually punch him, probably.
I could see that
He is
happening.
funny, though. He's very funny. Yeah.
But yeah, it would be a lot.
Yeah.
Like, after
He's a clown.
Yeah. But he seems kind of aware of that on some level.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so I guess we're going to wrap it up. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm getting pretty sleepy. Little Miss Bambi woke me up a little before 6 a.m. wanting food this morning. So, so I'm pretty tired. But yeah, so thanks everybody for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you for your super chats and all of the discussion. We'll be back again on Friday night for the Sidetrack show, which is always a lot of fun. Like I said, no topic. We just kind of drink and talk about whatever bullshit y'all want to talk about. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Have a good rest of your evening, you guys. Have a good day tomorrow, and we will see you guys on Friday night. Good night.